Let's put. I think there should be a last screen of this game today. All right. Today's stream is gonna have a lot of starts and stops in it, probably because it's hot. It's balls. I'm trying to keep hydrated. All right. So one thing we didn't get to check out last time was, hey, we now have our character select screen featuring brand new characters, Tateno and Jack. They do their little turn with the gun, but they turn opposite directions. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's good shit. All right. Anyway. So, where we got to keep out here now, right? Tateno, it looks like we can continue on, so we'll move over to there. We'll go back to using the, this is just going to be the explosion end again. We'll go back to using the, guide if we have to, but for now. Because Jack just found something. Can Kano jump over to Jack and... I think that's going to be too early, right? Regardless, let's keep going with Tatsuno. So this is going to be the same as it was yesterday. Kajiwara making that decision to help Tatsuno through. That's another keep out. Okay. So I wonder, did we also make the wrong decision here? I guess regardless, we gotta... Because the last chance to jump to Jack again came a little bit after here, right? So maybe we can figure out what the hell is... Akshi's gonna gather everyone around him, right? They ain't scared of no ghosts. Alright, so... Hey, they got the train car in the back there. Still love how they managed to get this shot here. That's they did good with the CGI. Oh, this is different. So this is different entirely. Hold on. The hurtling vials scattered and began to fall. It seemed impossible that Kano's team would be able to keep them all from shattering against the ground. The SOS members fanned out, positioning themselves as best they could to intercept the falling vials. Kano likewise prepared to catch one that was heading straight toward him. As he did, he caught sight of Palmer speeding away. Kano made up his mind on the spot. There was only one right call here, and he needed to make it. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's try staying here. He had to protect the lives of the people nearby. As much as he wanted to apprehend the criminal, he couldn't sacrifice innocent people to do it. Kano caught one of the vials deftly in both hands. But was it enough? Carefully, he examined it for damage. Seeing the vial didn't appear broken, he let out a sigh of relief. Then he looked around for Palmer, but there was no sign of him. Damn it, the mastermind had gotten away. Vanished without a trace. Amidst the frenetic crowd of the scramble, a lone criminal could blend in an instant, becoming just another pedestrian. Trying to find him now would probably be a hopeless endeavor. How come no explosion went off this time? Failed capture. Okay. So let's try going after him then. Let's go get him. He had to chase after Palmer. It didn't matter if he didn't grab the vials. Something about the way this was playing out made Kano sure of it. Calling upon all of his rugby training, he broke into a sprint. Deftly dodging through the crowd, Kano kept Palmer in sight. He would catch him one way or another. He was going to bring this bastard down. Steadily, he gained on his quarry, and at last he drew within striking range and immediately dived into an expert tackle. He caught Palmer around the waist. Their bodies collided with violent force. Palmer went down flailing and hit the pavement hard. Even then, he tried to resist, but Kano straddled him and held him down. Tell me the password, Kano snarled. The kidnapper sneered triumphantly. You made the wrong choice. Wrong choice? Ua is out now. Now nobody can be saved. You've just killed everyone in the city. No, Kano shot back. Nobody's going to die. And what makes you so sure of that? The way you fled the scene just now. If the virus had really been in one of those vials, you could never have hoped to escape the infection. Running off on foot would be pointless. Palmer said. Which means there was no virus in those bottles. They were just a decoy in order to buy you time to escape. Now Palmer gritted his teeth and glared up at Kano. The look on his face confirmed the detective's hunch. But more importantly, it was your eyes. You didn't have the eyes of a man who was putting his life on the line. My eyes? Who the hell do you think you are, Sherlock Holmes? I know full well the look in a man's eyes when he's willing to die. In the back of his mind, Kano replayed the moment when Tateno doused in gasoline and marched into that financial office to talk down a would-be arsonist. Now, the password. Give it to me now. Kano tightened his grip on Palmer's collar, but the man just gazed back at him with an icy glare. Let me have to tell me Osawa's boy. That was our original deal. Kano wasn't surprised. He'd known it wouldn't be easy to get him to talk. Maybe it really would be impossible to strike a deal without Kano, but if getting her on the phone wasn't an option, Kano had to figure out something else. Sweat beaded on his brow as he cast about for ideas, and then he happened to catch sight of a car that had been overturned by an accident nearby. Gasoline had spilled from the vehicle, creating a broad, dark puddle in the pavement. Kano took out his handcuffs, cuffed Palmer's arm to his own. Come with me. Jerking his captive back to his feet, Kano led him over to the car. Then without hesitation, he sat down in the pool of gasoline. Yanking on the handcuffs, he pulled Palmer down beside him. Kano pulled a lighter from his pocket. Palmer snorted. And just what's this supposed to be, huh? Tell me the password. Or else what, you'll light the gas? You'll be burned to a crisp yourself. Yeah? Probably. Kano heard the casual desperation in his own voice. What the hell are you thinking? The smile vanished from Palmer's face. Kano scowled down at him. Even if I die, my friends will avenge me. Kano met Palmer's stare dead on. Palmer and Kano locked eyes, both refusing to back down. We finally gonna unscramble some Shibuyas? I hope so. Hello. We coping with the bioterrorism man right now? We are. We're copping with him. We're copping him. So for some reason, to catch y'all up, for some reason something went different at the explosion scene. Whereas in the other routes, we created Palmer threw up the vials and that caused an explosion, right? He did the same thing here, but it didn't explode this time. And the only thing we changed was way back in Stanley's route. We found something else in the back room. We got to keep out, so we don't know what it is yet, but apparently whatever he found back there changed enough of things to mean that now Palmer isn't walking around with explosives. The scent of gasoline fumes filled the air around them. Kano knew the slightest spark could set off a massive fireball. And now we're pulling the sitting gasoline with our captive move. Calmly, he flicked the lighter on. You can't be serious. Palmer's eyes fixed on the tiny flicker of flame. Password. You value your own life so little? The password. In his mind, Kano could see the pages of the Dick Diary as clear as day. Dick Dictum. Number 1. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. So glad we got the Dick Dictums back. Palmer glared in defiance. Kano brought the lighter closer and closer to the gasoline. He could practically feel his own life growing shorter as the hand descended. And yet he felt no trace of fear. Dick Dictum... Hey, you weren't here at the beginning of the game for the Dick Dictums, were you, Nojodo? The Dick Dictums in his Dick Diary. Don't worry, it's literally not a penis thing. It's Dick, like a private investigator. A PI. A gumshoe, if you will. And yet he felt no trace of fear. His body was numb, his senses strangely distant. Time seemed to slow. The world around him dissolved into a blur. He was surprised at how calm, how remote he felt, here in the midst of this life-or-death confrontation. And then far in the depths of Palmer's eyes, he saw the barest hint of doubt. He fixed his gaze on that point of weakness and did not look away. Palmer's shoulders slumped perceptibly. Now Kano was certain of it. This was a man who'd never put his life on the line before. Shizuo's words sounded in the back of his mind. You need a cool mind, but a fiery spirit. A detective without both of those is worth nothing. Wouldn't be a 428 should be a scramble without some good old dickin' through the Dick Diary. Exactly. Let me go. Promise to let me go, and I'll tell you. Is that your answer? I don't think you quite understand the situation here. Kano brought the flame still closer to the gasoline. Palmer's eyes went wide. No longer was he able to hide his trembling uncertainty. All right, I'll tell you. Just put that thing out. The password first. His voice strangled snarl. Palmer gave him the password. Kano extinguished the lighter. Pulling out his cell phone, Kano dialed up Osawa. As he did, he recalled his last exchange with Stanley at the electronics shop. Looks like we'll be able to save her that beer together after all. So now we can jump to Stanley, but Osawa didn't answer. Kano guessed immediately that something was amiss. Detective! Achi's voice was full of worry. I've got Stanley on the line. He says Detective Tateno. And then the explosion happened. So the explosion is unrelated to the vials. Interesting. So we still fucked everything up. Kano didn't get to hear the rest of Achi's words. A thunderous blast hurled him to the pavement. Where had the explosion come from? His lighter certainly hadn't set the gasoline ablaze. Kano hadn't been that clumsy. So what had happened? And the one possible answer came to mind. Palmer had blown himself up. But that only confused Kano further. His captive had already given up the password. What would prompt him to set off a bomb at this juncture? As he was losing consciousness, Kano continued to rack his brain. But he found no answers. Shit! Okay, so that still isn't... But, however, we did find something important. So let's go ahead and jump to Stanley. And find out what's going on over there. God, that shot of Palmer's face, like, in the, like, that's so good. There it is. Turning his attention back to the handbag, Stanley searched it more thoroughly and found a photograph tucked inside that he'd overlooked on his first inspection. What the hell? What? No, I'm sorry, this is Stanley. What the hell? He stared at the picture, swallowing the lump in his throat. It was a photo of Maria standing next to another young girl. There was something written in marker on the back. Me and Kanon, 7:30. Stanley hurriedly flipped the photo back over and looked at it again. What does this mean? The girl in the photo with Maria looked nothing like the Kanon who had been there at Endo Electronics, who had left with Maria and Tateno just a few minutes ago. What? Wait, so Kanon wasn't Kanon this whole time? Holy shit! If the girl they were working with wasn't Kanon, then who was she? Oh, shit! That's why it keeps happening! No. No. Stanley felt his blood run cold. Could she be... Was she Alphard? Oh, shit, that's actually a great twist. How did she get away with convincing everyone this entire... Because Maria was unconscious most of the time and couldn't remember. Oh, shit, so that's the reason that all that stuff keeps happening, is because it's explicitly because of her. Oh, fuck. The more he thought about it, the more it all added up. Assuming Alphard were masquerading as Kanon, the whole sequence of events suddenly began to make sense. She was strikingly audacious and fiendishly clever, but she hadn't outmaneuvered them just yet. As luck would have it, they still had a chance to stop her, and at long last, Stanley could see the outline of Alphard's plan. That's such a good... That shit is great! Her goal was to get the antiviral. But extracting the DDS from Hitomi's blood wasn't enough. Akoshi Pharmaceutical still had the drug at their laboratory. The antiviral's value came specifically from having a monopoly on it, which meant that, in addition to obtaining the drug herself, Alphard also needed to destroy Akoshi's research facilities. That was the crux of her plan. The problem was finding a way to infiltrate those facilities. In all likelihood, Alphard's scheme went something like this. Have Maria Osawa kidnapped. Then infected with the Uwa virus. After that, eliminate Tanaka. Once Osawa learned that Maria had been infected with the virus, he was certain to use the antiviral on her. But he'd need his partner, Tanaka, in order to access the storage facility, and Tanaka was dead. That was why Alphard had been masquerading as Kanon. Kanon was Maria's friend and an expert at hacking passwords. If she could secure Osawa's trust, he would let her into the research facility in order to carry out the hack. That's why she went down... That's why she was so calm while hacking the passwords in the thing last time. She already knew the password. She didn't need to brute force her way into it. She already knew it. Oh, that's good shit. Oh, I love this game. If she could secure Osawa's trust, he would let her into the research facility in order to carry out the hack. That's why Alphard, in the guise of Kanon, had saved Hitomi's life repeatedly. Getting Hitomi to trust her would likewise earn the trust of her father. There were still some finer details that remained a mystery. For example, how was Alphard going to destroy the lab? Still, Stanley could look into that one once he had her in custody. He needed to move quickly and stop her from ever getting to the Akoshi facility. I fixed it. Daisuke approached Stanley and held out Maria's cell phone. Well, best it could at any rate. Looks like it'll get a signal, but whatever data was on it is all gone. I see. Password hacking logic seemed flimsy, but I guess this is why. Right? There's a reason it was flimsy. Like, and even I was just like, okay, it's just Hollywood hacking, like whatever, you know, I'm not gonna complain about it. But no, there was a reason it was like that. Oh! I was gonna ask, who the heck holds a phone like... I mean, they hold it when you're handing it to you, right? Like, he's handing it to him. He'd hoped he might be able to learn something useful from it, but luck evidently wasn't on his side. He was just going to have to go up against Alphard with what he already had. Now that he guessed what was really going on, Stanley went to talk to Kano. You need to go to the scramble without me, he said. What? Kano was visibly shocked. Where's this coming from all of a sudden? Please, don't ask me to explain. Something else has come up and I have to see to it. Stanley hated having to do this. He wished he could explain everything, but... if he made any unusual moves now, there was a risk that Alphard would pick up on it. It was better to keep his companions in the dark, just in case. I understand, Kano said. Do what you have to and come back soon. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more. It's all right. I'll find a way to get by. Kano gave him the thumbs up. The sight brought back some painful memories. Up until just a few hours ago, Stanley had instinctively seen Kano as all too naive, and now he finally knew why. Kano was just like his younger brother, Frank. We're not going to do the whole Frank... Okay, no, we've seen the Frank thing. We're not doing the whole Frank thing again. We saw this last time. Can we skip ahead when Stanley's route now? We can't. Okay. But this is the same as it was last time. Oh, University of Chicago, huh? Have we gotten that? A private university in Chicago, Illinois, lauded as one of the foremost research institutions in the U.S. More than 90 alumni have been awarded the Nobel Prize. The school has made a number of major contributions to the world beyond simple academics, including the construction of the world's first artificial nuclear reactor, Chicago Pile 1, and the Chicago School of Economics, a school of economic thought that stresses monetarism. Thumbs up is really perfect, the angle of it, the smile. I know, right? It's just like... they nailed it. It's just Kano looking like a fucking dork, and I'm here for it. Yeah, okay, this is all the same as it was last time. Once this is all over, you'll go have a beer with me. Right, okay. So now, let's see. This game knows what we want, and it's more Frank, right? Actually, no, like, legit, this game knows what it wants, and it knows what we want, and we want it to lead into, like, the camp more, right? The more camp this game gets, the better it is. Okay. So what do we do differently now? What are you doing differently, Stanley? Hurrying out of Endo Electronics, Stanley dialed up Tatano as he ran along. Okay, so that's how we're going to break back into Tatano's route. So carefully, your life may depend on it, he said as soon as Tatano picked up. He knew that the detective wouldn't openly be able to respond, since Alphard was right there with them. On the spur of the moment, Stanley devised a simple code for how he should answer yes or no. He told Tatano to respond with, "That's right," to mean yes, and "will do" to mean no. There was no time for anything more complex. Right now, Stanley just needed to stop Alphard from getting into the lab. Quickly explained his suspicions about Kanon. Tatano sounded distinctly unnerved. "At any rate," Stanley said, "you need to find a way to turn back without her realizing what's going on." Uh-oh. "Will do," Tatano replied. So he was going to head to the laboratory despite Stanley's instructions. "Saving Maria is your top priority, isn't it?" "That's right." The detective's affirmation was firm. "All right, then. I guess I'll have to head that way myself. In the meantime, do not let her inside that lab." "That's right." Can't wait for the totally happening twist that Kanon is a feint too and the real Alphard is actually Frank. Frank, who's been dead since before the beginning of this game, is Alphard. And you know what? I could see it. Or waiting for the other twist that Alphard is actually Alpharad several years before his YouTube career started. Tatano was no match for Alphard. If she figured out what was going on, she'd probably kill him on the spot. Reassurance or encouragement would be meaningless right now. Instead, Stanley left Tatano with one final warning. If it comes down to it, I think if it comes down to it, just shoot her. If you hesitate for a moment, she'll have you dead. Because we know what her plan is now. Because we saw her in the last one leave the area before the building exploded, right? Her idea is to get the rest of them trapped down in the bottom where they can't possibly get out and explode Okoshi Pharmaceutical. So if she tries to leave again, we'd rather her just stay down there. If you hesitate for a moment, she'll have you dead. Tatano hung up without saying anything. The area around Dogonzaka was in disarray. The government had declared a state of high alert, and the people on the street were milling about uneasily, unsure just what was going on. Modern-day Japan lacks both the infrastructure and the legal framework to properly deal with a large-scale bioterrorist threat. Coordination between the police, Japan Self-Defense Force, health centers, and so forth would be a monumental task. In all likelihood, if a bioweapon was ever unleashed there, the target site would fall into chaos. Yep. The main roads had been blocked off, and automobiles and motorcycles were at a standstill. Some vehicles had overturned on the curb in an apparent attempt to circumvent the blockade. Any moment now, Kano's team would be putting their plan into action at the scramble. Stanley wasn't sure who they might have gotten to help, but Kano was certain to put them to good use. Please, stay safe. Don't you dare die on me. Stanley prayed silently as he darted underneath the railway overpass. Having that YouTube clout would certainly be a good way to get away with accusations of bioterrorism and arms dealing. Look at how stands are. Waiting for the weird YouTube stance to come out of the frame, come out of the woodwork to defend popular YouTuber X from accusations of, checks notes, international arms dealing and bioterrorism. Mark my words, we're going to see that story drop in like 2028, probably. He made it into his car, still parked on the roadside, and fortunately beyond the blocked-off area. Jumping in, he sped off toward the laboratory. Famitsu apparently gave this game a perfect score. It did! It did! Famitsu never misses. As he drove along, Stanley again tried to deduce Alpharad's plan of action. We're just calling her Alpharad again. The 9th game they did that for? I know! It's so good! They knew. They had a gem on their hands here. Maybe that's why we haven't seen so many visual novels like this in the years since, right? It peaked. You can't do better. If Alphard herself was on the way to the lab now, then what was the objective of the fake who'd been sent to the scramble? A call came in from Tatano. Stanley here. He picked up quickly, but as he did, he wondered, why was Tatano calling him? Alphard was right there. There was no way the detective should be risking a phone call. What's going on? What's going on? Tatano said nothing. Stanley repeated the question. Still, Tatano did not reply. Stanley's apprehension spread like a droplet of ink in water. Hey, has something happened? Hey, answer me! The call cut out. Stanley hurriedly dialed Tateno's number, but he couldn't get through. Something had gone badly wrong. He was sure of it. Had he been too arrogant in thinking he might be a match for Alphard? His worries turned to the team at the scramble. What if they had walked into a trap? Figuring that would be too dangerous to call Kano in the midst of negotiations, Stanley instead dialed up Archie. Oh, so that's what's going to happen in Archie's end. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll finish off this. We'll see what happens with Archie, and then we'll go back and see what happens with Tateno. To Stanley's relief, it sounded like things down at the scramble had gone well enough. So he asked Archie to put him on the phone with Kano. Yeah, give me a sec, the young man said. Detective! Stanley could hear Archie shouting on the other end. I've got Stanley on the line. He said that Detective Tateno. There was a sudden tremendous boom, and then the call cut out. Stanley's jaw dropped. He felt his mind emptied out by despair. He opened his mouth, but he couldn't even bring himself to scream. All he could do was curse inwardly again and again. Stanley slammed his fist into the steering wheel as hard as he could. Then he did it again and again and again and again and again. He didn't stop, even when his fists were marred with blood. Tateno is indeed Tadetto once again. So, I bet what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go over to Tateno's side and figure out how to stop Alphard from there. In the meantime, let's see how it ends for Archie. Let's go ahead and jump. Oh! We can't. Okay. Well, let's carry on. I guess we haven't hit the keep out point yet, or whatever. Something definitely didn't feel right. It's just a bluff. He knows he can't get away. His only chance would be to try to spread the virus around and to take off while everyone was distracted, which meant they needed to grab just one vial. Okay, yeah, this is all. Susumu shouted. Evidently he shared Archie's opinion. He began to stomp toward Alphard, but he didn't reach him in time. Stanley gritted teeth shot. Looks like the kind of thing you would see spookily altered in a creepypasta game. Yeah, you're right. The vials in Alphard's hand went sailing into the air. Look out! Catch him! Catch him! Archie gestured for his comrades to fan out across the open space. The vials seemed to almost vanish against the backdrop of the evening sky. How many of them had this guy even thrown? There was no way to tell for sure. And if even one of them broke open, it would be a death sentence for Shibuya. They had to make sure they caught them all. Spinning around in the midst of the chaos, Archie saw Susumu catch one vial deftly. Many of the other gang members appeared to have done the same. There's one more over there! The desperate shout had come from Hitomi. Oh, whoops, that's what Hitomi sounds like now. She spotted a vial sailing in a high arc away from all the SOS members. Damn it! Archie launched into motion, ignoring the searing pain in his leg. The falling vial was so far away. Yeah! It was now or never. He threw himself into a headfirst slide. Nice catch! The gang members broke out into cheering and applause. Archie got to his feet and looked around, but saw no sign of either Kano or Alphard. Hey, Archie, if you're looking for the detective, Susumu gestured with his chin. Archie looked and saw Kano far out across the scramble, chasing after Alphard. Soon both men were lost in the crowd. Archie would have charged off in pursuit as well, but his wounded leg made that impossible. Get him, detective! He murmured under his breath. We're counting on you! Surely there's one that broke open. It doesn't even matter if they broke open, Nojoto. Remember, these are all fakes, right? We already learned this. Though the vials are just a feint. Archie's cell phone rang. It was Stanley. Mr. Stanley, what's going on? Something isn't right. Huh? I can't get in touch with Tateno, Stanley said. What about on your end? Anything unusual going on? No problems here for the moment. Detective Kano managed to catch Alphard. Did you get the password? Dunno, I think he just finished his interrogation. Could you put me on the line with Kano? Yeah, give me a sec. Uovirus is actually just advanced lethal form of the Ushiromiya family curse. You're right! Sure, everyone would have died. I mean, to be fair, we've had, like, how many chances to try to make this right, and we've still fucked it up every time? So, Archie turned to Kano and shouted, "Detective!" Kano turned to look at him as if he was flipping his own cell phone. He was flipping his cell phone closed. "I've got Stanley on the line. He says Detective Tatsuno." I know everyone was missing Archie voice, right? We all were. Before he could complete a sentence, a massive explosion blasted Archie off his feet. Tiny bits of metal tore through his arms, legs, and torso. He crashed to the ground and crumpled like a tattered rag. There were screams coming from all directions, but as Archie started to fade from consciousness, the voices got softer and softer. Archie! Yeah, that's about right. To the haze of pain, he saw a bloodied arm stretched out before him. He saw a hand that had been clasped with his hand all day long. The fingers feebly reached for him, and Archie intertwined them with his own. It took the very last of his strength. Then, both hands subsided into stillness. Aww, they died together. That's so sweet. Bad end. Fuck. Alright, well. So the explosion still happens there. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and jump to Tatsuno then and see if we can change things on. Because it seems like we're finally getting to the crux of why we can't seem to change things here. Right? It's all coming down to Kanon. Or to, the person we thought was Kanon. Once they'd made it past Shibuya Station, the roads were relatively clear. They ought to make it to the lab in no time. The phone rang again. It was Stanley. "What's going on?" he asked the American. "Listen carefully. Your life may depend on it. I'm going to ask you some questions. If the answer is yes, say that's right. If it's no, reply with will do." For a moment, Tatsuno was bewildered. From the urgency in Stanley's voice, however, he realized there was some kind of emergency. That's right, he said after a moment's thought. That ought to let Stanley know that he understood the code. "Is Kanon with you right now?" "That's right." "That Kanon is an imposter." Tatsuno gripped his phone more tightly, hoping it would stop the trembling in his hand. "It's her," Stanley said. "She is Alphard." The detective had to stifle a gasp of alarm. "I don't have time to fill you in on the details, but I've got some pretty incontrovertible evidence. You need to turn back now." Tatsuno struggled to come to terms with what he just heard. He glanced at Kanon through the rearview mirror. She was holding Maria tightly in her arms. Was this really all an act on her part? What if we held hands while explosives ripped our bodies apart, right? And if so, why? There was only one possible reason. If Kanon really was Alphard, then she had only one goal. She was pretending to help Maria in order to get into the lab, where she would be able to steal the antiviral. But wait, hold on. Kanon was Maria's friend, wasn't she? Hitomi had said as much herself. Kanon is my sister's friend. Maria certainly knew what her own friend looked like. And since it was obvious that Maria might be present, it didn't make sense that for a clever imposter to pretend to be Kanon. Or did it? When Kanon showed up on the roof of South Hill, making her surprise attack on Tatsuno, Maria had taken off down the staircase without ever looking back. When she turned up at the Endo Electronics workroom, Maria had already collapsed and fallen unconscious. Tatsuno felt a chill spreading through his body. As far as he knew, Maria had never actually seen the girl who was now sitting in the back seat. But then, what about Hitomi? Shouldn't she have known what Kanon looked like? Tatsuno tried to remember just what Hitomi had said. Kanon is my sister's friend. I just met her for the first time today. If they'd never met each other before today, then maybe Hitomi didn't know what the real Kanon looked like. That was the only explanation that made sense. Tatsuno, listen to me. I saw her venting. Hey, Tatsuno, are you still with me? Stanley sounded like he was on the verge of panic. At any rate, you need to find a way to turn back without her realizing what's going on. Even if Kanon really was Alphard, Tatsuno had to keep heading toward that lab. He went over the coded responses in his head. Yes was that's right. No was will do. Will do, he said. Saving Maria is your top priority, isn't it? That's right, Tenno affirmed. All right, then. I guess I'll have to head that way myself. In the meantime, do not let her inside that lab. That's right. Tatsuno hung up. Who was that? Keinon asked. Tatsuno felt his heart skip a beat. That was Kuze. Oh, that was Kuze, the cop from earlier. Tried to keep his voice as level as possible. She worried about us and wanted to check up. Ah, okay, Keinon muttered, sounding disinterested. Should be a meltdown. Yo, Sass, welcome! Dude, you gotta stop looking at that mirror. She's gonna get creeped out, right? Like, I don't know if I was told, like, hey, you need to act natural and play it cool. Someone in the room with you is actually about to kill everyone. I don't know if I would be able to do it. I'd be a poor choice in that situation, I feel. Tatsuno could only hope she hadn't guessed the truth. It felt like the specter of death himself was breathing down his neck. That also explains why they kept giving Keinon all of these like fucking great shots of her like face half in shadow, looking all menacing. I thought it was like, oh, they're playing her up to be a badass. No, they're playing her up to be menacing. At last, the minivan arrived at Akoshi Pharmaceutical. Tatsuno pulled up at the front gate and got out of the vehicle. Off to one side of the entrance was an intercom for contacting the security room. I'm assuming you've already heard the details from the director. Tatsuno barked into the intercom. Open up. The security guard spat back. Oh, this is all just going to be the same as it was yesterday. Okay. So this is just the same. They're going to get into the... They're trying to get into the... Osawa's going to show up here, right? Right? Yeah, okay, yeah. This is the same. So let's just skip ahead to where they get inside. Wait, is her name Keinon? It is! Or rather, Sass, since you're here for the final stream, that is her identity that she's assumed. Acting natural doesn't mean either be either incredibly awkward or act like a frightened animal at all times. You'd be surprised. Actually, you know what? That's right. If I started, quote, acting natural all of a sudden, people would be weirded out because it's not like me. Okay. Keinon is the main character of the sequel anime. Yes! Yes, she is. Although I'm kind of wondering, like, how that works now, because Keinon here isn't Keinon. That's not Keinon. If Keinon really was Alphard... Okay, this is different. If Keinon really was Alphard, Tatsuno couldn't let her into that lab. Without getting that lock open, there was no way of getting Mario the antiviral she needed to survive. What was the right call? Should she still pretend to be in the dark and let Keinon try to hack the password? Let's see. I think if we let her go in, this is going to be the bad end. So because this will that'll just play out the same as it did last time. Right. So let's not go anywhere until Stanley got here. 2 years after the events at 428 should be a scramble. Really? I'm surprised, given that she's the villain of this game. Maybe it features the real Keinon. They couldn't go anywhere until Stanley got there. Tatsuno knew exactly what he needed to do. What's the matter? Osawa turned and cast a look of confusion back at Tatsuno and Keinon, both of whom had stopped in their tracks. We'll wait out here, Tatsuno said. But, I mean, isn't Keinon going to hack the password? There's been a slight change of plans. Go ahead and wait for us at the lab, Director. Aye, all right, but we don't have much time before Maria develops symptoms. I'll be inside. Please don't keep me waiting too long. With Maria in his arms and a worried look on his face, Osawa hurried through the gate and disappeared from view. What do you think you're doing? Keinon asked, stiffening as Tatsuno nudged the barrel of his gun against her spine. You're all fired, aren't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's no use trying to play dumb. Stanley found proof. Before he finished speaking, Keinon seemed to disappear from view. Oh, look at that shot! That's fucking great. There's some good shit right there. She cartwheeled away at blinding speed, too quick for Tateno to keep a bead on her. By the time she'd righted herself, she'd already drawn a gun of her own. Abruptly, he found himself facing her in a stare-down, weapons aimed at one another. Then Kanon's phone rang. She reached to answer it. "Don't move," Tateno roared. "Did you forget the plan? That might be Hitomi calling." "I don't care. Don't you move." If Kanon really was Alfard, the whole plan might be a sham. Tateno kept the barrel of his gun squarely on its mark. Kanon let out a little sigh. "Have you considered that Stanley might be lying to you?" "Yes, it is possible, but I need to make sure we avoid a worst-case scenario." "If you don't let me into the lab, who's going to hack the password?" "We've got your little decoy. My friends will get the fake Alfard to cough up the password." Once her phone had stopped ringing, Kanon sighed again. "And what about Stanley, then? Is he on his way here?" "Who knows?" Tateno said. At that, Kanon lowered her gun. She seemed disturbingly full of confidence. Kanon flipped open her cell phone. "Who do you think you're calling?" Tateno adjusted his aim, pointing the gun to the young woman's head. "Look, I'm going to call Hitomi and have her clear up these suspicions you have about me. We don't have the time for this right now. Wouldn't you agree?" Kanon stared back at Tateno, cell phone in hand, waiting for his reply. "Doesn't matter what Hitomi says. I trust my own judgment." "Your own judgment, huh? And is that always correct?" Kanon began punching in numbers. She never took her eyes off Tateno as she waited for Hitomi to pick up. "She's not answering." Kanon hung up and tried calling again. "It's me." It looked like she gotten through this time. "That detective oh no, this is Kanon. "It's me." It looked like she gotten through this time. "That detective doesn't trust me. Apparently thinks I'm Alfard, not Kanon." After a few moments, Kanon held the phone up to Tateno. "Here, Hitomi says I'm definitely Kanon." Tateno didn't reach out for the phone. Instead, he advanced on Kanon with his gun still on its mark. "This is a farce," Tateno spat. "Hitomi's words don't mean a thing. You might be Kanon to her, but you aren't to me. I don't even know if there ever was a real person named Kanon in the first place. So maybe you are Kanon, and you're Alfard." Kanon shook her head, then put her phone away. "If you're really Alfard, then you don't actually need to hack the password," Tateno said. "I'm guessing you've already gotten it from Tonica, which means you'll be able to get your hands on the antiviral as soon as you get into the lab." Kanon didn't so much as flinch. "The only thing stopping you is the antiviral still in Hitomi Osawa's body. Possessing the antiviral and having a monopoly on it are two very different things. You want to eliminate Hitomi. That's why you lured her down to the scramble. Am I wrong?" Also, Alfard is in the anime too. Oh, well, there you go. So, okay, so there's your answer. All right. "If that's true, then how am I planning on getting rid of her? Using the so-called substitute Alfard or something?" "Yeah, that's right." Tateno couldn't be certain. But he couldn't think of any other way. Kanon let out a laugh. "You don't know the first thing about Alfard," she said. "Alfard keeps the outlines of his plans blurred so that his deliberate actions just get lumped in with the coincidences. That's the crux of all his plans. That's how he's able to pull off these schemes by himself. He'd never solicit help from a third party." The words seemed like they were Kanon's, but also seemed like they were Alfard's. Whatever the case, Tateno had to let Kano know that Hitomi was in danger. With his gun still at the ready, he got out his phone and called the detective. But the phone rang several times and nobody answered. Eventually, he had no choice but to hang up. They must have been in the middle of a confrontation on the other end. For now, Tateno could pray that Kano and the others would be able to handle whatever threat they were up against. "I am not letting you in there." At that, Kanon let out a fake chuckle. "In that case, I'm going to have to eliminate you." Even without her gun raised, she still radiated intimidation. Call with one hand, gun in the other. I mean, they do a lot of that in this game, don't they? Tateno might have had her at gunpoint, but he could feel the threat of her presence like a gathering storm. "Eliminate me," he said, doing his best to mask any sign of weakness. "You're the one that doesn't have your gun ready." "I don't need my gun," Kanon said simply. "And why is that?" "Because you can't shoot me." "And what is that supposed to mean?" Kanon glared sharply at Tateno. Her look pierced him like a blade. Then she quirked an unsettling smile and took a step closer to him. "Don't move," he warned. Tateno said, "Try anything funny, and I'll make sure you regret it." He kept his gun trained on the center of her chest. You can't shoot me. Kanon took another step closer. You're still traumatized from that time you let your friend's wife die. Oh! Dude, shoot, right? Like, exactly. Dude, shoot, shoot, shoot. I wonder if we've made any changes to the rest of the timeline at this point, right? We have. This has changed things. All right, so staying out here and waiting for Stanley was indeed the right call. How do you know about that? Tateno was shaking now, his aim wavering. I heard you talking with the younger detective up on the rooftop. That was right, she had been there. Let's test my theory out. Kanon pointed her index finger at her own heart. If you think I'm Alphard, then shoot me right here. Huh? Seems that wouldn't make a difference. The corner of her mouth twisted up. You can do it, can't you? Tateno's gun's hand shook all the more. You're afraid to pull the trigger. It was as if her words were a spell that she was casting over him. You can hardly even stand the thought of pointing your gun at someone. Seems I wouldn't have made or there are choices that don't matter. There are choices that don't matter, and there are choices that very much do. Tateno shook his head violently back and forth, but he couldn't get Kanon's words out of his head. If it comes down to it. If it comes down to it, just shoot her. If you hesitate for a moment, she'll have you dead. That's what Stanley had said, and he was right. Don't hesitate. Don't think. This was Alphard, a sadistic terrorist. He just needed to trust himself and pull the trigger. Pull it! There was a horrid, visceral sound. Gastric fluids rushed up Tateno's throat. He pitched forward onto his hands and knees and vomited on the spot. The sensation of pulling the trigger. The recoil in the wake of the shot. It was exactly as it had been all those years ago. You gonna watch the anime now? Of course I am! He never wanted to fire a gun again. At this point, he'd probably never be able to. Where were you even aiming? The voice had come from right in front of him. He looked up to see Kanon standing right there. His heart began hammering like mad. This was the end. He braced himself for oblivion, even as his body cried out to survive. What? Okay, but cue Stanley driving his car right into her. Right? There was the dull roar of a gunshot, and then silence. Shit, okay. I do think that was the correct decision to have him do that, but maybe we have to do something with Stanley. Or let's get Jack over there. Good color, but the atmosphere makes it sound more unnerving than you'd expect, right? God. Her just getting slammed by a car would have been hilarious. I know. All right, so this is the same as it was earlier. Don't you dare die on me. Okay, yep. Just video of him flying an unrealistic distance. Oh my god. Keep out! Okay. Okay, so we can't... We can jump to Stanley from here. So all this confrontation with Leland is going exactly the same. Actually, you know what? Let's see what happens with... Is this still going to be the bad end here? Okay, this is still the bad end. Okay. But we managed to catch Palmer in this one, right? And we've gotten the password out of him. Okay, yeah, this is the same bad end it was a few minutes ago. Okay. You could have just said, I don't want to shoot you if I don't have to. You're right. Let's try playing this one out first, and then we'll go, and then we can try changing that one as well before we make any more radical changes. Explosion always happens after the ringtone, right? It does. So maybe it's the calling that's doing it. Okay, so I think from Achi we can jump to Stanley, right? Wait, no, because this jump to Stanley was to Stanley too early. Let me just double check that. It's also a choice you assume would make a difference. Maybe. Is that... Okay, that's at 6:25, Stanley. Is that... Yeah, that's too early. Okay. So I think from here... There was another chance to jump from Achi, right? Because Achi's going to get a phone call from Stanley. So we should be able to jump over to him in a moment. God, that's a cool shot. Wish I had a Windows computer so I could play this. If you also have a Wii and the ability to speak Japanese, you can play it that way. Pretty sure the translated version only ever came out on Steam. Which, still, pretty awesome. The trick now is I'm going to try to find a version that, like... Because this isn't the only game that this studio has made like this. They've done other ones like City beforehand. And I kind of want to play some of their earlier ones now. If I can get, like, a Sega Saturn. A way to play Saturn games, and if it's been translated. Someone made a translation patch for the Wii version. There you go. Alright, so there was no way to jump to Stanley from here. Okay. Huh. Well, I guess we let this play out, regardless. The name of the Saturn game is, Emulation Tips. I will, Sass. I'm thinking I'm gonna chat you up when I want to get, Machi. It's called City no Joto, or Machi, I believe, if the TV Tropes page I looked at is correct. I don't know if there's a translation patch for it or not, though. Because then you'll have Prime Dust to do the Utena VN, right? Oh God, yes. So again, all right. In that case, what can we change? Because we can't jump. Can we jump to Stanley from here? We can jump to Stanley from here. Here it is. Okay. Son of a bitch. Famicom visual novels that interest me, but I've never played. Probably they have some translation patches. I know. Like, there's some really good, like there are some really cool early adventure game, visual novel, you know, life sim type games that I really want to give a shot at. All right, so let's jump to Stanley from here. There it is. Okay, there it is. There it is. She drove along. Stanley tried again to deduce Alphard's plan of action. If Alphard herself was on the way to the lab now, then what was the objective for the fake who'd been sent to the scramble? Is it to act as a decoy, or to get Hitomi's blood, or it's not indiscriminate terrorism. If she's planning to blow up the lab, right, then she really needs the blood. And Leland, more than anything, seemed focused on getting the blood. Alphard still hadn't gotten her hands on that. That must be why she proposed the exchange. No. Stanley sensed he was jumping to the wrong conclusion. It was too easy, too obvious nothing was really as it seemed. Tommy's blood wasn't the only means to obtain the antiviral. Alphard was on the way to the lab right now. So as long as she was able to gain entry, she'd be able to get her hands on the antiviral there. Did that mean the negotiations down at the scramble were just a scheme for buying time? That didn't seem quite right either. Aha! Stanley blurted aloud. He just realized what Alphard hoped to accomplish at the scramble. Alphard had been careful to wipe out almost everyone she'd associated with in the past. That was precisely why all of her defining characteristics such as age and sex and nationality had been unknown. It was unthinkable she'd allow this decoy, who almost certainly knew who she really was, to stay alive. And since Hitomi carried the antiviral in her body, Alphard likely wanted to get rid of her as well. In all likelihood, the terrorist mastermind was planning to steal the antiviral from the lab, but as long as some of it remained in Hitomi's bloodstream, she wouldn't have a monopoly on it. By arranging for Hitomi and the decoy to meet, she could eliminate them both at the same time. That is what her objective was. The question was how. Beginning with her bombings in Chicago, Alphard had made a frequent use of remote-controlled explosives. It was likely that she'd opt for something similar here as well. But she wasn't going to be at the scramble herself, so how in the world was she going to trigger the explosion by a fucking phone call? Was there some clue to be found in something she'd said or done earlier? Think. Try to remember. Well, try to remember the form you once had. Think. Try to remember. If he didn't do something, everyone at the scramble was probably going to die. And as he desperately racked his brain, he remembered something Kano had said, then when they were at the scene of the minivan explosion together. He said he heard a cell phone ringtone at the time of the explosion. Not sure if that's significant, though. Stanley recalled the recent exchange between Alphard and Hitomi. The two had called each other's cell phones. Alphard hadn't really been checking to make sure she had the right number. She'd been checking to make sure Hitomi hadn't changed her ringtone. That was it! The bomb was set to detonate in response to a specific piece of music. The ringtone on Hitomi's phone was the trigger. Where could the bomb be hidden, then? Stanley didn't have time to think. He needed to alert Kano and the others right away. Pulled out his phone again, he recalled the map at the stakeout positions. Kano would probably be right next to the decoy Alphard. Might be a mistake to call him under the circumstances. Maybe he couldn't risk calling Kano, but he could call Achi. Stanley dialed Achi Endo's number. Please, don't let me be too late, he muttered to himself as he waited for the call to connect. But although he called repeatedly, Achi still didn't pick up. Was he already too late? Stanley dreaded the answer to that question. Alright, so we have to delay Alphard from picking up her phone in Tateno's route, right? Okay, yeah, so let's try to delay her from making a phone call here. Just hope they don't share a ringtone, right? Cat party. Stop. This is the sort of nonsense we don't have time for right now. Kanon shook her head, then put her phone away. If you're really out far, then you don't actually need to hack the password. Okay, so that got her to put the phone away. Okay, good. I'm guessing you've already gotten it from Tonica, which means you'll be able to get your hands on the antiviral as soon as you get into that lab. Kanon didn't so much as flinch. The only thing stopping you is the antiviral still in Hitomi Osawa's body. Possessing the antiviral and having a monopoly on it are two very different things. Okay, that did change things down the line here. Okay, getting her to stop that did change things all around. You want to eliminate Hitomi. That's why you lured her down to the scramble. Am I wrong? If that's true, then how was I planning on getting rid of her? Using the so-called substitute Alphard or something? Yes, that's right. Tateno couldn't be certain. But he couldn't think of any other way. Kanon let out a laugh. You don't know the first thing about Alphard, she said. Alphard keeps the outlines of his plans blurred, so that his deliberate actions just get lumped in with the coincidences. This is all the same as it was a few minutes ago, so I'm just going to skip over reading this part. With his gun still at the ready, Tateno got out his phone and called Kano. The young detective was quick to pick up. Yes! Okay. Detective Tateno, what is going on? You need to get Hitomi Osawa to safety immediately. Alphard isn't trying to get at her blood. He wants her eliminated. What? Hurry! Yes, sir. Once he'd gotten Kano's confirmation, Tateno hung up. Okay, so we can jump back to Kano from there. That's good. And now, your little plan has been foiled, Tateno said. Kanon snorted. Has it now? If I really am Alphard, then all I need to do is eliminate you here and head right on into that lab. Even without her gun raised, she still radiated intimidation. Tateno might have had her at gunpoint, but he could feel the threat of her presence like a gathering storm. Okay. Because you can't shoot me. Okay, so now this we're gonna go through this whole thing again where she's like, you can't shoot me. Nah. I wonder. So this one clearly led us to a bad ending. Let's try. I don't want to pull this trigger if I don't have to. I don't want to pull this trigger if I don't have to. It's not that you don't want to pull that trigger. It's that you can't. pull that trigger. Kanon took another step closer. You're still okay. So this, no matter what we say to her, there. No matter what we say to her. So we're gonna, yep. Yep, see. This is gonna be the same ending. Just pull it before she scares you, right? I mean, I wish we could, but. Yeah, okay, this is the same. Is this gonna change anything, though? Okay, no, that didn't change. Okay. So Tateno still dies. Okay, that's not good. All right, but now we know that changing our shit talk won't change that. Okay. However, doing this does get... He does get in contact with Kano, right? I will win this fight with the power of horror movie grins, right? Lexi, hi. Hi, Lexi. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day. Let's go with let's keep going with Stanley here. Or are we going to get another keep out here? You have to clean... Oh, I'm sorry. It's important, though. Okay. So this is the same realization we had here. And this should also end with... But he's going to try to call Achi, right? First name Stanley, last name America. Well, it's first name Jack, last name Stanley. His name is Jack Stanley. Okay, this is all. John Smith? Yeah, basically. He's basically Jack America. First name Jack, last name Stanley, middle name America. In America. Okay, so you figured out the plan, right? So he's gonna call Achi. Okay. Keep out. Mr. Stanley. Mr. Stanley! What's going on? All right, cool. Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's good, that's good. That's what we want. Okay, so why did he still see so... This is... Okay. This doesn't matter. This and both of these are going to lead to the same thing. That guy looks evil? Which guy? This guy? This guy right here? Yeah, he does. He is evil. But he's not the specific evil that is the mastermind. He's just kind of like a more minor evil. I say minor evil. He's an organ trafficker, but holy shit. He's not the greater scope villain here. We're gonna go play catch for a moment here. I'm good. Wasn't done a little organ trafficking on the side, you know? I mean, like, anything to make ends meet in this economy, right? What is in the ampules? So, as best we can tell, Nothing. It originally, like, Leland is claiming it's a sample of... Leland claims it's a sample of UA virus, but it's not. It looked earlier like they were explosives, but they're not. They are, as far as we can tell right now, they are literally just a distraction. So we can jump from here to Achi, right? Okay. Hey, it's time for Achi again. Sarin gas? Nope. Literally nothing. Eventually, Achi spotted Kano on the far edge of the crowd. The detective pumped his fist in victory. Looks like he got now far to cop up the password. Gotta go clean, give me strength. I wish you luck, Lexi. I lend you my strength in this trying time. Thank goodness! Finally some really good news! Now Hitomi and Mario were both safe. A surge of relief ran through Achi's body. Unexpectedly, his cell phone rang. It was Stanley. Okay, so now we can hop back to Stanley as well. Mr. Stanley, what's going on? How did the negotiations go? Achi quickly filled him in on the good news. The detective caught Alfard. He got him to give up the password, and I think he's called the folks at the lab. I mean, the case is closed then? No, not yet. Right now, I need you to do exactly as I tell you. For a moment, Achi's head swam. This isn't over yet? Why? What's going on? If you want to save Hitomi, then shut up and listen, Stanley barked. All right, tell me what to do. First, you need to power down Hitomi's cell phone. Turn off her phone? What for? Was Stanley serious or just messing with him? I'm pretty sure... I'm pretty sure there's a bomb somewhere near your location. A bomb? Achi's voice squeaked into falsetto. The guy that Kano just apprehended is a decoy. The real Alfard is planning to eliminate Hitomi and the false Alfard at the same time. Eliminate both Hitomi and his own decoy? Why would he do that? And if the guy they just captured was a fake, then who was the real Alfard? He couldn't wrap his head around it. The more he tried, the more his thoughts became a jumbled mess. Listen, first, turn off that cell phone. Then go and look for the bomb. Okay, I got it. Right now, he just needed to do what Stanley told him to do. He didn't have time to make sense of the situation. Hanging up, he called out to Hitomi. Hitomi! You need to turn off your cell phone! She stared back at him, too confused to act. Look, just hurry up and do it! Right, okay. Pulling her cell phone from her pocket, she switched the power off. Woo! We did it! Then Achi turned in Kano's direction. Detective! He shouted. Kano was looking toward him, seemingly already aware that something was amiss. Detective! That's not the real Alfard! He's a fake! A fake? Kano looked understandably shocked. Yeah, I just got a call from Stanley. He said the real Alfard is planning to get rid of both Hitomi and the fake with some kind of bomb. I'm yelling this for the entire scramble to hear. Bomb defused. Exactly. Or bomb, or rather, we didn't defuse it. We just removed the trigger entirely. So I guess that counts still. I don't know. It's still armed and dangerous. So, like, maybe we shouldn't go near it. But also, like, it's not going to go off on it. You know what I mean. Kano hurriedly turned back to the fake Alfard and began a fresh barrage of questions. Meanwhile, Achi's mind was racing again. If the bomb was meant to wipe out both Hitomi and the imposter, it would have to be pretty powerful. So it couldn't be anything less than anything particularly small. Where could the bomb be hidden then? Probably in the train car, right? Achi scanned the area but didn't spot any place that seemed plausible. Kano made his way over to Hitomi. Pardon me, miss, I just need to search you real quick. Wait, had Hitomi been planted with a bomb? Achi, keep an eye on this guy, Kano said. If he tries anything funny, feel free to punch his lights out. Okay, sure thing! Bomb close enough to defused. Yeah, you're right. Achi took up watch over the decoy Alfard. The guy was handcuffed, but he was still a diabolical terrorist. Achi knew he couldn't let his guard down for a moment. Kept a close eye on the fake, ready to knock him cold at the first sign of mischief. Meanwhile, Kano continued to search Hitomi. Did you buy the jewelry and accessories you're wearing yourself? Yeah, most of them. The ring I got from my sister. What about your clothes? I bought them just this afternoon. The top I was wearing before got torn. I see. Then as Kano continued to search, he cried out suddenly in realization. Hitomi, you have to give me your cell phone. It's a bomb. Hitomi hurriedly pulled out her cell phone and handed it to Kano. Achi looked on in alarm as he realized the detective was going to turn the phone on. Stop! Don't turn that thing on! Kano froze at Achi's sudden shout. Why not? The detective quirked a quizzical eyebrow. I don't know! It's just what Stanley said! He told me to make sure her phone stayed off! The blood drained visibly from Kano's face. Quickly pulling out his own cell phone, Kano dialed up the police. He launched it into a discussion involving a lot of cop jargon that made no sense to Achi. But one thing seemed clear. Hitomi's phone itself might be the bomb. Well, isn't that what Stanley thought? It was just her ringtone, right, was the trigger. But wait! Achi found himself doubting the phone bomb idea. If Hitomi hadn't brought her cell phone with her, what would have happened then? Would that just mean there would be no explosion here? He didn't buy it. Surely Alphard would have thought of a way to eliminate Hitomi and the decoy crook, whether she had her phone on her or not. It was too worrying a prospect to ignore. Achi waited impatiently for Connor to hang up and then asked, Well, what do we do? For now, just let me handle this. We don't know when or how this thing might explode. You guys, get out of here. Kano set the cell phone down on the ground and started to put some distance between himself and it. Achi followed after him, dragging the fake Alphard along. Suddenly, there was a tremendous boom, and a furious impact ripped through Achi's body. I knew it! Achi thought as he lay crumpled on the pavement. Hitomi's cell phone was powered off, so it couldn't have been the bomb. Something else must have exploded instead. It was the last thought Achi ever had. Huh, but I was right, though. Someone else had the same ringtone, right? Like I think Kano gets too caught up here in the idea that the phone is the trigger, not the bomb itself. Can we jump to Stanley at all here? Okay, so we can jump to Stanley from here. Let's do that. Oh, that jumps back here. Oh. Oh, okay. There was a way in Achi's route. Hold on. Let's move over to him. Here? Yeah, okay, here we go. Okay, let's go back over to Stanley. Please, don't let me be too late, he muttered to himself as he waited for the call to connect. Achi was quick to pick up. Mr. Stanley, what's going on? How did the negotiations go? The detective caught Alphard, Achi replied happily. He got him to give up the password. I think he's going to call the folks at the lab. Does that mean the case is closed then? No, not yet. Right now I need you to do exactly as I tell you. There was a pause before Achi responded. Why? What's going on? If you want to save Hitomi, then shut up and listen, Stanley snapped. All right, tell me what to do. First, you need to power down Hitomi's cell phone. Turn off her phone? What for? I'm pretty sure that there's a bomb somewhere near your location. Stanley tried to keep his voice as calm and steady as possible. A bomb! Achi's voice squeaked in falsetto. The guy that Kano just apprehended is a decoy. The real Alphard is planning to eliminate Hitomi and the false Alphard at the same time. Stanley didn't have the time to explain that Kanon was Alphard. Besides, it would only confuse the matter more at this point. Listen, first, turn off that cell phone. Then, go and look for the bomb. Okay, you got it. Achi hung up. Hopefully, the team at the scramble would be able to pull through. Now Stanley needed to focus on capturing Alphard. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. His emotions were coming on far too strongly for him to keep them in check. In the back of his mind, Stanley thought about the last he'd ever seen of Frank. There had been nothing left of his brother but a bloodied hand reaching out from beneath the rubble. And even since that day, Since that very moment, Jack Stanley had sworn vengeance upon Alphard. He would never forget the rage he'd felt at having what was left of his family taken from him. Hey Jack, once this is all tidy up, I'm gonna need a drink. Let's you and I have a beer together. Yeah. Just gonna... One of those real quick. Sure, you got it, bro. Bro-tato chip. Stanley sprang into action, leading away the throng of panicking civilians. But all the while, he couldn't help but worry about Frank. We've got almost 13 minutes left. He'll be fine. Backup will definitely be here in time. He did his utmost to reassure himself, but still the doubts gnawed. When the bomb squad descended upon the area, clad in their protective gear, Stanley shot a look at his watch. Wonder if Frank's remaining hand was in the shape of a thumbs up. Probably. Explosive ordnance disposal suits, also commonly called bomb suits or blast suits. Worn during bomb disposal operations to protect the wearer from the shock of a blast or from any hurled fragments an explosion may produce. Such a suit is, however, wholly inadequate to protect the wearer from a large, powerful explosive, such as several hundred grams of C4, detonated at close range. I felt a surge of relief. Only about 15 minutes had passed. There was still plenty of time for them to deactivate the bomb with their liquid nitrogen. Thank God. Frank is going to be alright. See, they keep bringing up the liquid nitrogen. We're going to have to stop the fucking theater troupe from bringing the thing back. But he's got no chance to finish that thought. There was an ear-splitting boom as a powerful shockwave shook the area. Stanley whirled back around, standing in horror at the place his brother had been. Nothing remained but a mound of rubble. So to answer your question from the other stream, Najoto, the reason they put a timer on the bomb was to fake everyone out. Right? Apparently. Because what can lull them into a false sense of security, telling them they have 30 minutes left when they really have 15? It's kind of like, you know, the old story about letting 3 pigs loose in a school and painting 1, 2, and 4 on them. You're using their assumptions about about how orderly your thinking is in order to confuse the problem. A later investigation would reveal the timer on the bomb's exterior had been a mere ruse. The explosive had never linked to a timer at all. Instead, it had been detonated via remote control. Alphard had deceived them using a visible timer to lull them into a false sense of security. When electrical detonators capable of triggering an explosion with electrical current were invented, they quickly rendered old-style fuses obsolete. In the modern day, many terrorists use small electronics such as cellular phones and keyless entry remotes for cars as explosive triggers. Stanley had managed to save many lives that day, to be sure, but it had come at the cost of his own brother's life. Had he really made the best decisions he could have made? He was still asking himself the same question over and over, even now. But no matter how much he blamed himself, it wouldn't bring Frank back. If there was one thing he could still do for his brother, it was getting revenge on Alphard with his own hands. Stanley had been in constant pursuit of Alphard ever since. He would stoop to any level for information without remorse. His opponent was someone who would go to anything at all to achieve a goal. It only made sense for him to do the same. At some point, he stopped even hesitating to get his own hands dirty. He would charge headlong into any danger if he sensed Alphard's presence. Even his own life was a price he was willing to pay in the name of vengeance. He could never hope to latch his jaws into his quarry's throat if he behaved like prey himself. He must be the greater predator. He would cast aside his humanity, would become a blood-stained beast if that improved the chances of the hunt. For the hunt was all that mattered. I see we got a real 24 character here, huh? Pursuit of Alphard had become his only purpose. Oh, fuck! 24 was probably an inspiration on how this game works, wasn't it? Now that I fucking think about it, that was almost assuredly something that they drew inspiration from. Because, right, that was gaining popularity a lot post 9/11. Huh. Wow, yeah, that just makes sense. So it's been for the past 2 years now. Now those years flash through Stanley's mind in the blink of an eye. As he came back into the moment, he marveled at his own ferocity and at the depth of the wound he'd suffered. Huh. If I do get my revenge, what would Frank think? When Stanley pictured his younger brother, it wasn't with a smile on his face. The realization gave him pause. In the end, killing Alphard won't bring his brother back. That went without saying. But although he could see now that revenge was an absurd goal, his heart still churned deep and dark with resentment. The Akoshi Pharmaceutical Lab finally came into view. A large billow of black smoke was rising from one of the building's windows. Stanley felt a chill in the pit of his stomach. He hopped out of the car and then gasped. Tateno! The detective was sprawled face down on the ground outside the laboratory gate, his gun still in his hand. Blood had pooled around his head. If he had shot at close range, death would have been instantaneous. All too late, Stanley felt the full weight of his mistake. Tateno had gone up against an opponent who was out of his league and gotten himself killed, and Stanley had put him up to it. He never should have let Tateno try to handle the situation on his own. He should have done whatever it took to stop the detective. There must have been some way he could have averted this disaster. Saving Maria is your top priority, isn't it? That's right. But no hesitation in Tateno's words. Stanley had known how badly the man wanted to save Maria. That is why he deferred to the detective's judgment. Now he was faced with the results of his own naivete. The smoke pouring from the building showed no signs of diminishing. In all likelihood, the lab had been destroyed with a bomb. Alphard's plan had run its course before Stanley had even got there. He couldn't forgive himself for having been so thoroughly outwitted, nor would he forever forgive Alphard for what the terrorist had done. Anger erupted inside him, raging like a hellfire, driving him onto action. Death would be too kind a fate for Alphard. Now more than ever before, the thirst for vengeance consumed him. But even as he began to stalk toward the laboratory, a bullet caught Stanley in the abdomen. For a moment, he couldn't process what had happened. There was an intense searing pain that spread through his gut. Warm liquid began to soak through his shirt, and then a figure emerged from within the smoke. I have been waiting for you to show up, Jack. Another bullet tore through Stanley's body. Time seemed to slow for him. He watched the spray of blood scattering like a crimson mist. Alphard! Stanley hissed the word through clenched teeth. Out of pure stubborn spite, he managed to stay on his feet. Tottering toward his foe, he raised his gun. He didn't stop pulling the trigger until the very moment his world went dark. Damn! Well, okay. So we'll see the rest of this stuff out. I don't think there's any way at this point. I don't think at this point there is any way to Oh, the warning. Okay. So that's where he seems to think we went wrong, was the warning. Before we try that, okay, so before we do that, I want to see the ending of Kano's route over here. We'll see what that bad end is. I think we're going to have to change the phrasing of the warning. There's one other thing I'm going to try before we go back and do that, though. I also want to see if maybe letting her go in with them and waiting out here ourselves is a better option. Because that is another way that we could change things, potentially. So, for now, let's see what the end of Kano's route over here looks like. Looks like we'll be able to have that beer together after all. The phone rang several times before Osawa picked up. It's Kano, I have the password. Are you serious? Osawa blurted in shock. Here, let me give it to you. Are you ready? Yes! It is 59FBAI4QL1. As he passed along the alphanumeric sequence, Kano kept his eyes on Palmer. The man stared back at him with an expression of bitter defeat. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Then at last Osawa's excited voice came through. That did it! It opened! The lock opened! Kano let out a deep breath of utter relief. So it seems like we've pretty much figured out how to get things solved more or less on the area of the scramble here. Huh. Heh, Palmer snorted. You're really satisfied with catching me and saving the life of one girl? I suppose it is the Japanese way to forget the pain that's been visited upon you. But it's not over. The bloodshed will continue. All over the world,
Women, children, the elderly, innocent, all will bleed because absolute justice is on our side.
Is that right? Kano drove his fist into Palmer's face. There was no such thing as absolute justice. It was that kind of blind faith that kept the world in conflict. Well, this sure is quite the mess. Whirling around in surprise, Kano saw Kuze standing there. Director Kuze! He bowed his head apologetically. He may have apprehended the criminal mastermind, but only because he'd ignored a direct order to place Maria under quarantine. I'm sorry, sir, but save the apology, Kuze interrupted. You're the one who solved the case. You did good, kid. Once again, Kano bowed, this time even more deeply. Oh, and one more thing, Kano. Yes, sir? Sasayama has regained consciousness. I thought you'd like to know. Sasayama, they were able to save him. I got a call from the hospital. Looks like he's going to pull through. That's great. Really great news. Tears of relief came to Kano's eyes. And if Osawa was able to get the lock at the lab open, he should also have been able to get Maria the antiviral without any further difficulty. Trying to crave lunch, but also really want to know what happens. I mean, I think it's gonna take a couple more permutations before we finally get everything right, so. Kano dragged Palmer to his feet, then undid the handcuff from his own wrist, using it to properly bind his captive. The metal ring snapped shut with a soft, satisfying click. Palmer limply flung his head. It was over. It was all finally over. It really had been quite a day, Kano reflected. Beyond all the challenges he'd faced, he had come face to face with his own shortcomings. Now he knew what a long way he had to go to be the man he wanted to be. But at last he learned what it truly meant to be a detective. Huh? He was muttering to himself nearby. You don't even look alike, but... The director shook his head and cleared his throat. You know, Kano, for a second there, you look just like Tatsuno. Really, sir? Kano smiled, flushing sheepishly with his hair. Kuze's words were the finest praise he could have asked for. Someday, he hoped he really might be a detective like Tatsuno. No, he decided he would be. And until then, he'd never give up on that dream. It might be a long, long road, but he would walk it. Kano looked up into the sky. The neon lights of the city shone from all over. This was the same old Shibuya that it always was, but one that he looked at now with new eyes. And then everything explodes. Right? Because we know he goes over to Achi's route now. And in Achi's route, he's get caught up with the wrong phone thing. Keep out. Okay. So if we want to see the end here, we have to jump over from Achi probably, right? No? Here we go. Go get lunch now and hope nothing major happens. I mean, either way, I think this is going to be the end of the, it's going to be a bad end, so don't worry about it, Nojoto. His cell phone rang. Tatsuno's name appeared on the incoming call display. Kano quickly picked up. Detective Tatsuno, what's going on? You need to get Hitomi Osawa to safety immediately. Alphard isn't trying to get at her blood. He wants her eliminated. What? Tatsuno wasn't making any sense. Alphard, Palmer, had already been arrested. The threat was over now. Hurry! Tatsuno barked. Yes, sir. Detective! Achi called out suddenly. He was standing with Hitomi and the others near the state of Hachiko. Detective! That's not the real Alphard! He's a fake! Fake? Yeah, I just got a call from Stanley. Kano didn't want to believe it. If this Alphard was just a decoy, then that meant the real culprit was elsewhere, still on the loose. Achi's voice rang with desperation. He said the real Alphard is planning to get rid of both Hitomi and the fake with some kind of bomb. To get rid of Hitomi? That lined up with what Tatsuno had just called him to warn him about. It must be true then. Once again, Kano tensed. A bomb, but where? Get me the Explosive Ordnance Division, someone squawked. A team made up of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department Security Bureau's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th Riot Police units, as well as the Support Vehicle Unit. Division members are trained in explosives disposal. Typically, a dangerous explosion is frozen with liquid nitrogen, then moved away from the site via support vehicle. The bomb is then detonated in a safe location. Explosives are almost never dismantled on site. We've got an emergency here! It was Kuze, practically screaming into his cell phone. We're at the scramble outside the station! Hurry! The director started running toward the precinct, still shouting as he wove his way through the crowd. Kano felt himself starting to panic. If Hitomi and Palmer were the targets, the bomb had to be nearby. He stormed over to his captive. Okay, where is the bomb? He demanded. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me. I already told you the password, Palmer said. What point would there be in keeping things from you now? He had a point. If he had known about the existence of the bomb, he'd kept it a secret so far. Getting him to reveal it now would not be easy. Connor decided to just go have a look for it himself. Took a deep breath and tried to think logically. If he were Alphard, what would he do? How could he ensure that he'd eliminate both Hitomi and the fake Alphard at the same time? Where would he plant a bomb in order to pull that off? On the fake? On Hitomi? So if we look on Hitomi, we get caught up in the wrong thing. In a minivan. He was going to try the same ploy all over again. Kano thought back to the other van explosion earlier that afternoon. Alphard would need an explosion big enough to wipe out both Hitomi and the fake Alphard, even if they got separated. With that in mind, rather than plant a bomb in one fixed spot, he would use a minivan which could be moved to wherever Hitomi and Palmer happened to be. Achi, it's a minivan! Look for a minivan! Kano scanned the area. There are plenty of vehicles parked all around, but no minivans. This seems strange. If the two intended victims were here now, he'd expect the bomb to be somewhere near as well. So he didn't spot a minivan anywhere. Kano ground his teeth in frustration, sweat practically pouring from his forehead. Was he wrong in his assumption? If he was wrong, where else could the bomb be hidden? His mind began to run in circles. Okay, you could do this, he told himself. Focus. Just think. Focus. Think. He had to trust himself and then take action. Decided he'd just have to start checking whatever vehicles were close by. Leaving the fake Alphard under SOS's watch, he ran for the nearest parked car. He peered in through the side windows. There didn't appear to be anything suspicious inside. Of course, if the bomb were set in the engine compartment or trunk, a cursory check like this would never find it. Still, he hurried toward the next car. He had to trust his detective's instincts. If he couldn't spot the bomb itself in a vehicle, maybe something else would alert him to its presence. Alphard had a certain criminal signature that Kano was sure would linger. Nothing abnormal here. No problems here. Not this one either. With each car he checked, Kano's panic rose. About a minute, no 2 minutes, must have passed since he started searching for a bomb. Already more than 15 had passed since Palmer had appeared on the scene. The detonation could come at any moment now. Kano felt he might crumple under the weight of fear. It might already be too late. He felt utterly defeated. And then he saw it. A small, boxy minivan, and it was racing right toward him. That was it! It had to be! The van drew steadily closer, streaming a massive plume of white smoke. Kano sprang into action. Stop that vehicle! He rushed right into the minivan's path, bracing himself to stop it with his own body if necessary. The driver's compartment was filled with white smoke, making it impossible for him to see who was driving. The van might be Oh, here it is! Here it is! This is the van we need in order to... Because this has the liquid nitrogen thing in it. The van might be unmanned. Stop! Kano shouted again. He knew it was probably pointless, but he had to try. Because that's the theater troupe van that has the liquid nitrogen thingy in it that we'll need to defuse the bomb. God! Connor whirled around. He could see countless bloody bodies scattered across the pavement. What the hell had just happened? It wasn't the minivan that had exploded. The bomb must have been hidden inside someplace else. No. How? Connor crumpled to his knees. The minivan drove right on past him. The chilling breeze in its wake washed over him like the winds of despair. Okay. So we know it's not on Hitomi. Maybe we should try one last time here to do the... No, checking Leland won't change it. Does change Achi's end, though, so let's... We are really just doing this to get the bad ends at this point, because we have to change something further back in order to move forward. But this also gives us information about how to solve this part when we get to it later on. What'd I miss? Yo, welcome. We thought it might have been in a minivan. Then his eyes happened to we did another bad end where we got the bomb was in the wrong. We couldn't find the bomb in time. Could it be? No sooner had his suspicions been aroused than he heard Kano call out to him. Archie, it's in a minivan. Look for a minivan. Minivan? Alfaro was going to use a minivan again? Now that he thought about it, Archie realized that made a certain amount of sense. Tomi had very nearly been killed by the other minivan that exploded that afternoon. If Kanon hadn't happened to show up when she had, Tomi probably wouldn't have survived the first bomb. Lots of vehicular manslaughter and explosives going around in the streams lately, right? A lot of innocent people had been caught up in the blast as well. That was how big the explosion had been. If something like that had happened again here in the middle of the scramble, they wouldn't be so lucky a second time. If there were a minivan explosion here and now, Hitomi would be killed for sure. Probably take out Susumu and the rest of the gang too, and even Achi himself. Anxiously, he took another look around. There were no minivans parked nearby, though. He did spot several minivans along one of the roads leading away from the scramble. Kano was rushing around inspecting one vehicle after another. Nobody move! Achi shouted to Hitomi and Susumu. There's a bomb planted in the car! Make sure you stay away from any vehicles! The others gathered wordly around him. But Kano, everyone but Kano, continued his mad rush in a search of the bomb. The journalist route ended yet. Yeah, the journalist, Minorikawa's route ended much earlier. Yeah. Achi went to go join him, but Hitomi grabbed a hold of his arm. Achi, she shook her head. But I have to! A fierce shout interrupted him. Let me go, I can't be here right now! It was their captive, the decoy Alfard, suddenly in an uproar. He was sweating profusely and his face had gone ghost white. Look, just run, get away from that thing! That thing? Achi followed the decoy's gaze. Was that it? Was that where the bomb was planted? So it is the attaché case. It all happened so quickly. Achi didn't even have time to issue a warning. No sooner had he located the bomb than he was blasted off his feet. Damn it! If I had noticed a little sooner! As he spiraled into an abyss of regret, Achi lost consciousness for the last time. All right. So none of this is going to change anything, right? I mean, obviously we still need to go back and make a change earlier on so that Tateno doesn't die. But let's just keep looking at the permutations back here. We know checking Hitomi for it also doesn't do it, but on the fake. There was no other place he could possibly have planted it. Kano began to pat Palmer down carefully. Achi! Oh no, this is Kano. Achi! He shouted. Check the case, hurry! He gestured to the attaché case Palmer had been carrying. Don't move! Kano searched through his captive jacket and the pockets of his pants, but he came up with nothing. Perhaps Alfard had fitted the bomb onto the man's watcher belt. Stop this, I'm not carrying a bomb. Shut your mouth! But Kano couldn't spot anything suspicious about the watch or the belt either. He clenched his jaw in frustration. Did Palmer really not have it after all? Detective! It was Achi. He looked alarmed. Kano hurried over to him, dragging Palmer with him. When he looked inside the attaché case, Palmer's face went pale. No, it can't be. Alfard, why? His voice was hoarse with betrayal. Then he abruptly broke into a stilted laughter. Trusting someone really does make you blind. Such a simple, childish ruse, and it went right under my nose. Palmer looked over at Kano. We need to get out of here immediately, he said. That right there is C4, a high-yield plastic explosive used by the military. A plastic explosive created for military use. The chief component is RDX, trimethylene trinitramine. Trimethylene trinitramine. Got it! Which is combined with a plasticizer such as diacetyl sebacate. It is highly reliable and is used by many military forces around the world, most notably the U.S. Armed Forces. God, reading is so hard. And that's enough to blow this whole area to smithereens. A chill ran up Kano's spine. Do not let this man go, he said, handing Palmer over to Susumu. Got it, just leave it to us. Susumu signaled to his followers, who immediately dumped Palmer unceremoniously on the ground. Kano carefully inspected the inside of the attaché case. Archie had found a false bottom in the case. The space beneath it was indeed packed full of plastic explosives. Set within it was what looked to be a detonator. Connor didn't know much about bomb disposal. He'd only been taught the very basics during his police academy training. Nonetheless, something drew his eye. A microphone. There was a parabolic microphone attached to the detonator. In all likelihood, the detonator had been set to go off in response to some sort of sound. Hey, detective! Is that thing going to explode or not? Archie's voice was shaky. Looks like it's sound activated, but it hasn't gone off just from having people talking nearby. That means it must be set to explode in response to a specific sound trigger. A specific sound, huh? Archie took a moment to think. That's it! It must be Hitomi's ringtone. That's why Stanley had made me power her cell phone off.
So that means we're safe then? Hitomi asked. It's not going to explode anymore, right?
Kano had to fight back any feelings of relief. They couldn't forget that this was how far they were dealing with. Assuming they were safe would be a dangerous mistake. Carefully lifting up the detonator, Kano spotted another cable connected to the bomb. As calmly as he could, he tried to remove the plastic explosive from the attaché case. Quickly discovered the thinly stretched sheet of plastic explosive was only an intermediate layer, concealing a second false bottom. A small timer had been set beneath it. There's not just a sound trigger. Kano's mouth had gone dry. His voice came out as a whisper. The bomb also has been fitted with a countdown timer. Stanley had been right on the mark. The ringtone of Hitomi's cell phone would trigger the explosion. That way Alphard could eliminate both her and his stooge, Palmer, at the same time. But just in case the sound trigger were discovered, as a backup, the bomb had also been rigged to explode after a set time. Kano speed dialed his boss. Director Kuze, where's the bomb squad? 151, 150. Not even 2 minutes left to go. It didn't look like the explosive ordnance unit would make it on time. Kano scanned the area, weighing his options. He noticed Attaché standing right beside the bomb case. Archie, he called out. Leave that thing and get out of here. But Archie didn't move. No way! He sat down, the attaché case cradled in his arms. Archie! Archie, what the hell are you doing? I'm not going anywhere until everyone's made it to safety. Detective, you need to get these people somewhere safe right away. Okay, like... Oh, hey, Mibadata. Are small bombs around now, or are they just normal size? They are actually larger than normal bombs. Fake timer again? Yeah, that's what I keep thinking. It's got to be a fake timer again, right? Also, Archie, this gesture means nothing to no one. You're going... the explosion is not going to stop because of your body. Clear the area first, then I'll go. But there's no way I can do that. Damn it, don't you want to save these people too? Kano bit his lower lip in frustration. Archie was right. If the bomb went off amidst a crowd like this, there was no telling how many casualties there'd be. He needed to do whatever he could as quickly as possible. Get back! Everybody get back! Archie shouted at the top of his lungs. There's a bomb! Everyone get out of here! Just run! Following his lead, Kano started directing nearby civilians to safety. Hitomi, Susumu, and the others added their voices to his. There's a bomb! Everyone run!
Get away as fast as you can!
Please, you all have to get out of here! The crowd wasn't listening to their warnings. On the contrary, some people hurried closer to see what the commotion was all about. It was no use. They were out of time. Kano had to save Archie at least. He turned back to him and called out. Archie, that's enough! Leave the bomb and let's go!
Archie! Hitomi shouted. Come on!
But Archie only clutched the bomb more tightly. What are you doing? Kano screamed. Come with us! Hurry! Still, Archie would not move. Susumu's face went pale. Wait, Archie, your leg! What about my leg? Earlier, when you kicked that steel pipe. What the heck? Finally, Kano understood. It wasn't that Archie didn't want to move. He couldn't move. And so he decided to get all heroic and use himself as a human shield to minimize the impact of the explosion on everyone else. Oh, that idiot. Shall I be evacuating people? No. Why is one guy hugging the bomb? Also, they suck at evacuating. He's hugging the bomb because he's an idiot. His leg was busted. Why didn't he say so? How did he even make it this far? There couldn't be much time left. If Connor rushed to help him now, he might not make it to safety before the bomb went off. He had to make a decision. So here's the thing. No matter what we do here, this doesn't matter. But let's go. Couldn't just abandon him. Archie was being an idiot. He wanted to sacrifice himself for the greater good, but Kano wasn't going to let him do that. To have someone else be your shield, to have them up and give their life for yours, Archie had no idea just how hard it would be on the people he left behind, even if it did save their lives. And until he was capable of comprehending that, Kano wasn't going to just let this kid die. He reached Archie in a matter of moments and grabbed him by the shoulder hard. Let go of the case now!
but Achi reflexively hunched over.
What the hell are you doing, man? Why'd you come back here?
Just come with me. We need to get out of here, please.
Look, you need to run. I can't move.
You've got to be kidding me. Kano squatted down and looked Achi right in the eye. Okay, you can't move on your own, so I'm going to help you move, and unless you want to kill me too, you'd better cooperate.
Damn it. Don't be a fool, man.
The strength ebbed from Achi's hands. Wasting no time, Kano pulled the case away, then slipped an arm around Achi's side. Their legs got entangled as Kano dragged Achi to his feet. Come on, run! The detective shouted when they were upright at last. They needed to get as far away as possible in the few seconds they had left. Connor didn't know how big the explosion was going to be. Palmer said it would be enough to blow the whole area to smithereens, though, and there'd be true terror in his voice when he said it. Just needed to keep moving. Keep running as far as the legs would take them. Achi! Hitomi shrieked. Alright. So, there's no real point in fooling around with these endings anymore, because we have to go back a little bit farther. But, Welp, right? We're just out here collecting bad ends. That's all we're doing. Yeah, this is all the same. And in the end, Kano never even knew what cut his own life short. Well, sucks to be you, Kano. Okay. So, I guess we could do Achi's ending here too, but if we actually want to see the end of this game at some point today, we're gonna have to try something else. So what were the decisions we made here? One decision could be to send Kanon in. I think Stanley wants us to go back to the warning here. So let's start big here. Big Hero 6 was 2014. Yep. Okay, so now we're going to change everything. Find some way to stall until I get there. If she realizes we're onto her, you're done for. Tateno hung up without saying anything. The air around Dogonzaka was in a state of disarray. Did that change anything? Or was that... That doesn't change anything at all, because he doesn't hear our warning. Yeah, that doesn't change anything. Let's see whether or not Tateno still dies here. Alright, so Stanley's idea that we needed to change his warning didn't actually wind up meaning anything. Okay, yeah. This is still the same. Oh, wait, hold on. Kotone's final words flashed through his mind. If he hadn't fired back then, maybe Kotone would still be alive. Your friend's entire life was changed because of you. Why hadn't he tried to talk the culprit down? He knew the reason why, because he'd loved Kotone. He still loved her, even after she'd become Daisuke's wife. His desire to be the one who saved her had warped his sense of judgment when things had come down to the wire. Oh no, that did change things. Okay. Tateno, do you not enjoy being with me? There was a forlorn look in Kotone's face. It wasn't that he didn't enjoy being with her. Her very presence soothed him. But the more serious their relationship had grown, the more it tore at Tateno's heart. The truth was that he didn't really know what happiness was, and so he was incapable of making someone else happy. If it were possible, he'd want Kotone to be smiling always, and that meant her being with someone other than him. I think it would be best if we stopped seeing each other. Tateno blurted out the words bluntly, and Kotone's face fell. He hadn't broken up with her because of any lack of feeling for her. Rather, the impulse had actually sprung out of his pursuit of human warmth and his growing fear of losing it. He'd just been so uneasy. More than anything, he'd been afraid that he wanted too much love and affection from Kotane. Bit by bit, Tateno lowered his gun, his hand ever more unsteady. His heart was on the cusp of breaking, and still Kanon continued with her diabolic whispering. You can go ahead and kill me, but if it turns out that I'm not Alfard, what then? Now she stared at Tateno with an almost pitiable look. You'll have once more done something that you can never undo. Something I can never undo. Tateno repeated the words dully, feeling himself forced into a trance. That's right. Could you ever accept that? No, I couldn't. Couldn't make the same mistake. His whole body felt like it might fall apart. He wanted to drop to the ground and curl up in a ball like a child. And that's why you can't shoot anyone. I can't shoot anyone. As Tateno muttered the words, Kano's face appeared in the back of his mind. I can! Tears fell from Kano's eyes as he looked down the barrel of his gun at Tateno. He'd become a detective who didn't lose sight of what he was supposed to protect no matter the situation. Tateno had nearly forgotten. Nearly abandoned his inward promise to be a detective worthy of that final salute Kano had given him. He brought his gun back up to bear. Don't be absurd, Kanon mocked. You can't shoot anyone. Actually, I can. The words creaked dryly up from Tateno's throat. When there's something I'm supposed to protect, I can shoot. The memory of Kano weeping but taking aim had given him the resolve he needed to face down an opponent who ought to have terrified him. I learned that from someone who was terrible at his job. Kanon's eyes went cold. Immediately she lifted up her gun again. Once more their eyes locked, sparks of hostility crackling between them. But almost immediately, Tateno could sense the difference in skill between his opponent and himself. The young woman radiated a deadly aura. The force of her stare was like a knife pressed to his throat. She had borne witness to carnage and bloodshed, the likes of which he couldn't even imagine. He couldn't win this. She would kill him, guaranteed. Tateno braced himself for death, never taking his eyes off Kanon's. If nothing else, he needed to buy time for Kano to get that password. But he could do that. Could he do that given the opponent he faced? Yes. Somehow he would do it. As a detective, as a man, even if he had to give his own life to succeed. Even if it couldn't come close to making up for the sins he had committed. Oh my! So that's where Tateno's route ends. Okay. All right, so that means we were successful then. That's the end of his route. Okay. So I guess Jack has to get there ASAP. He did succeed in stalling her. He did succeed in stalling her. If I do get my revenge, what would Frank think? Right? Yeah, we don't need to get revenge for Frank. Frank is... Finally, the Akoshi Pharmaceutical Laboratory came into view. There were two people standing outside the front gate. It was Tateno and the girl who was pretending to be Kanon. Each had drawn a gun on the other. Somehow Stanley had made it in time. Do it! Oh, come on. You missed the opportunity to just be like, and run. He pulled up his car alongside them and reached down into the gun sleeve concealed behind his seat. Pulled out a .44 caliber Desert Eagle, one of the most powerful semi-automatic handguns in the world. A semi-automatic handgun designed by Minnesota-based Magnum Research Incorporated and manufactured by Israeli Weapon Industries. There are various models chambered for different rounds. The largest, .50 Action Express, is exceptionally powerful by semi-automatic handgun standards. His orders were to apprehend Alfard. The smaller Glock in his shoulder holster might be better suited to that end. Even so, he opted for the Desert Eagle. Getting out of the car, he started pacing toward the young woman. Stanley! Tateno glanced over at him, his face pale. Stanley gave a silent nod in reply. He could see the hint of a smile on the girl's face. Probably a smile of overconfidence. Well, her brazenness would get her no further. I got in touch with the others, Stanley said. Told them to turn off Hitomi Hasawa's cell phone. You could see her eyes react. I imagine that by now they've also managed to deal with the bomb you planted on your decoy. The young woman remained silent. And of course they managed to bypass the lock inside the lab. You know what this means? Our plan has failed. Completely. Stanley could see this girl's stare sharpen. He had chased Elfard all around the world only to arrive here at last in this little island nation. It had been a long, long journey, and he spent a long time suffering. Now both the journey and suffering would be over. Hell yeah! We meet at last, Alfard. Give me that good FMV shit! All right, we're going to take a quick break because we've been at it for a couple hours. I think we are finally going to end this when we get back. Because now it's just a matter of navigating Kano and Achi's endings here, right? These two, they're ended. We're done. It's a matter now of getting the bomb defused safely. So, I'm going to put up the, taking a break. There we go. I'm going to take 10 minutes. While I'm gone, everyone stand up and walk around for a bit. Drink some water. You know, keep yourself cool. Eat something if you need to. Take your meds if you need to today. All those little things you got to do to take care of yourself. I'll be back in 10, and when I do, we will finish this goddamn game.
Alright, I'm back. Had to get some water there for a bit. Okay. So Kano is still stuck in a bad end here. That's not good. I think up through that we're good. It's going to... We have to get Achi to stop being an idiot, for one thing. Also, we have to get Achi to not, like, break his leg trying to... Maybe we can get Achi to not break his leg by picking a different option here. Huh. Okay. So let's see, like, if we can get Achi to not break his leg trying to catch the vials here. Oh, he's already done it. Like, does it actually change anything here? No, that doesn't change anything. What we pick here doesn't change anything. Okay, so let's just hop forward here. Alright, so he's going to tell us it's a fake. Okay. Kano hurriedly turned back to the fake Alphard and began a fresh barrage of questions. Meanwhile, Achi's mind was racing again. The bomb was meant to wipe out both Hitomi and the imposter. It would have to be pretty powerful, so it couldn't be anything particularly small. Where could the bomb be hidden, then? Achi scanned the area but didn't spot anything that looked likely. Then his eye happened to alight on the attaché case the decoy had discarded. Could it be? No sooner had his suspicions been aroused than he heard Kano call out to him. Achi, check the case! Hurry! He hurriedly opened up the attaché case and searched the interior. Seen viral FMV at least 10 times by now and it's still good. Right? Oh, vial FMV? Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's good every time. The only things inside were pieces of medical equipment. Tubes and syringes and the like. There was nothing that looked remotely like a bomb. Still, where else could the bomb possibly be hidden? Damn it! He had to find the explosive and soon. He took another hard look at the case. I'll flip it over. Achi lifted the attaché case up high and flipped it upside down. But as he was about to throw it, he heard a metallic sound. Quickly, he lowered the case again. He was certain the noise had come from inside. Yo, Dohi Wario. Like how the word that brought me, the word that brought you into the stream was imposter. Oh, yeah, that is a little sus. Also, hello. Hi! Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good day. But still, he saw nothing of note. He tossed the medical equipment aside and slowly tilted the case from side to side. Though it looked empty, there was a distinct sound of something metal sliding back and forth. Hold on. Could it be? Achi tugged at the case's inner lining, quickly tearing it free. When he looked behind it, his eyes went wide. A thin layer of something that resembled white clay had been affixed inside the cover of the case. Several wires connected it to a small electronic device. This was it. The bomb really was inside the attaché case. Here it is! He shouted to Kano. I found it! Kano hurried over, bringing his captive with him. There, Mr. Palmer, take a look. When he saw that what was inside the attaché case, the fake Alphard went pale. No, it can't be. Alphard, why? His voice was hoarse with betrayal. Then he abruptly broke into stilted laughter. Trusting someone really does make you blind. Such a simple, childish ruse, and it went right under my nose. The fake Alphard, Palmer, looked over at Kano. We need to get out of here immediately, he said. That right there is C4, a high-yield plastic explosive used by the military. And that's enough to blow this whole area to smithereens. Blow the whole area to smithereens? Achi pictured Shibuya reduced to a blasted ruin. Meanwhile, Kano frantically began searching the inside of the attaché case. Oh no, this is Kano. A microphone, Kano muttered. Hey, detective! Is that thing going to explode or not?
Archie failed to keep his voice from wavering. It looks like it's sound activated, but it hasn't gone off from just having people talking nearby. That means it must be set to explode in response to a specific sound trigger.
A specific sound, huh?
Now Archie understood Stanley's instructions. That's it.
That's it. It must be Hitomi's ringtone. That's why Stanley had me told me to power her cell phone off.
So that means we're safe then? Hitomi asked. It's not going to explode anymore, right?
Maybe, but I wouldn't bet our lives on it. Kano continued his examination of the case. He carefully loosened the bomb and the cables, pulling them away from the lid of the case. The sight made Archie's heart leap. Then Kano went stock still, as if caught in a hungry predator's gaze. There's not just a sound trigger. The detective's voice was a raspy whisper. The bomb has also been fitted with a countdown timer. Archie could see the timer now. It had been planted underneath the plastic explosive. His blood ran cold. Director Kuze, where's that bomb squad? While Kano made a desperate call to the police, Archie picked up the attaché case and peered inside. The digital timer was steadily ticking down the seconds. Archie scanned the nearby area. There were too many people around the scramble. Hitomi was there. Susumu was there. Several more of his old pals. Along with a bunch of innocent bystanders. The people are the lifeblood, Archie reminded himself. The blood that coursed through the body that was the city. Like cells that brought to life the city he so loved. And Archie wanted to be one of the red. Or was it white? Blood cells of Shibuya. Archie, Kano called out, leave that thing and get out of there. No way! Archie sat down, cradling the case in his arms. Archie, what the hell are you doing? I'm not going everywhere until everyone's made it to safety. Detective, you need to get these people someplace safe right away. Clear the area first, then I'll go. But there's no way I can do that. Damn it, don't you want to save these people? Archie snapped. Kano bit his lower lip. Hitomi wrapped her arms around Archie from behind. Archie, don't do this. Hitomi, you need to get out of here, too.
Why? Why are you acting so crazy?
Tears blurred her words, and he could feel her trembling against him. It doesn't matter. Just get as far away as you can. Bomb squad, who needs that if you could just deep clean this motherfucker? Exactly.
No, I'm not leaving you.
After the day they'd spent together, Archie knew full well that telling Hitomi something once wasn't enough to get her to listen. Archie had some internalized sexism he needed to work on. That stubbornness was one of the many things that made her so amazing in his eyes. Hitomi! Archie clasped one of her hands tightly. I also love the idea that Archie just doesn't stop constantly yelling all the time, no matter what is happening. Please! This is the one favor I will ever ask of you! His voice came out oddly soft and gentle. Soft and gentle, huh? My bad. This is the one favor I will ever ask of you.
All right, she told him. But let me just say one thing first. There's still so many things I want to talk to you about. So much more that I want to know about you. So please, Archie, don't die on me.
Hey, don't worry. Once everyone's made it to safety, I'll clear out of here right away. Hitomi squeezed his hand, then got up and silently hurried away. Susumu, you and SOS start getting people out of the area. Yeah, all right. Susumu turned away and spurred the gang into motion. Then for an instant, Archie's eyes met Kano's. Archie gave a tiny nod and looked down at the timer. 119. 118. Get back! Archie shuddered at the top of his lungs. Archie has big himbo energy right now, but instead of muscle, he's got tactical cleaning supplies. Everybody get back! There's a bomb! He held the attaché case tight against himself as he continued shouting. His voice raw. He ran his voice raw, trying to warn the crowd away. Everyone get out of here! Just run! Following his lead, Kano started directing the nearby civilians to safety. There's a bomb, the detective shouted. Everybody, run! Get away as fast as you can! Susumu waved his arms emphatically.
Please, Hitomi added, you all have to get out of here!
But the crowd didn't heed their warnings. At last, apparently deciding the time was up, Kano turned back to Archie. Archie, that's enough. Leave the bomb and let's go. You could hear Susumu and Hitomi shouting as well. There's no time left, man.
Archie, come on!
57.
1946. The way Palmer had talked about this bomb, it sounded like a pretty dangerous one. It might be powerful enough to blow up the entire intersection. And there were still so many people nearby. There was no chance they'd be able to get to safety in the few dozen seconds that remained. Archie needed to minimize the force of the blast as much as possible. Like, Archie, buddy, your meager flesh shoot is not going to lessen the blast in any meaningful way, right? Like, come on, Broseph. He cradled the bomb more tightly to his chest, huddling over it. What are you doing? Come with us, hurry! Screamed Kano. This isn't going to change Kano's end, so I'm just going to...
I don't know how powerful this bomb is, but please, God, let my body be enough to protect the people of Shibuya and to protect Hitomi.
Archie squeezed his eyes tightly shut. And if you don't just progress the dialogue, the bomb won't go off, so whose fault is this, really? Shit, you're right. You're right, Nojodo. It's my own fault for playing. Damn.
I'm sorry, Suzune. Looks like I won't be able to keep visiting you in the hospital anymore. You'll forgive me, though, right? I stuck it through to the end, just like you told me to. I didn't call it quits part way through. And so whatever you do, you can't let that disease beat you. Don't you dare let it beat you.
Archie drew a deep breath as he finished his solitary little prayer. He couldn't have more than a few seconds left to go. The firm hand grabbed a hold of Archie's shoulder. Let go of the case now! It was Kano. The hell are you doing, man? Why'd you come back here? Oh, this is Archie.
What the hell are you doing, man? Why'd you come back here?
Just come with me. We have to get out of here. Kano's grip didn't let up in the slightest.
Look, you need to run!
Archie shouted.
I can't move!
He clenched his jaw in frustration. It was all too crazy for him to think straight. They shouldn't even be having this argument when the bomb could explode at any moment. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Kano growled in frustration. Okay, you can't move on your own, so I'm going to help you move. Unless you want to kill me too, you better cooperate. They didn't have much time left.
Damn it, don't be a fool, man!
Archie couldn't help but curse. Any fiction can be metafiction if you're imaginative or self-deprecating enough. That's a beautiful way of, beautiful and terrifying way of looking at the world, Henri. A sharp pain shot through his limp right leg as he lurched to his feet. Kano shouted in his ear, "Come on, run!" Archie didn't have the luxury of thinking anymore. He just had to move his feet. Hitomi cried out from across the scramble, "Archie!" As the explosion tore through him, he was glad that her voice was the last thing in this world he'd ever hear. Okay, so, and that was Archie's final thought. So, we're still having a problem here. Alright, we can't get Archie away up because he's a fucking idiot. Let's, so the last decision we made here with Kano. Maybe in changing this decision we can because the thing with the liquid nitrogen, the van with the liquid nitrogen in it comes speeding by, right? If we can get that to stop, we can use it to defuse the bomb, right? You couldn't just rush in without a plan. Detective needed both a cool mind and a fiery spirit. The more heated the situation was, the more he needed to stay cool. Couldn't feel the muscles in his legs begin to stiffen. He could feel the muscles in his legs begin to stiffen. He did his best to slow his racing heartbeat as his mind thought desperately for a way out of the situation. But his eyes remained fixed on Archie, holding that bomb in his arms. Knowing that it could explode at any moment made it almost impossible to think. The harder he tried to calm himself, the more his panic grew. He cursed himself for not leaping into action immediately. Should have acted before thinking. That was the only thing he was good at, after all. And still he stood frozen, staring at Archie. Then he felt the hairs rise up on the back of his neck. White smoke was pouring from an approaching minivan. I can't believe the fucking tip-only side story about the theater troupe with the ice machine wound up being what saved the day in the end. That's good shit. The vehicle teetered to a stop along the shoulder of the road. Still, the smoke spilled out, roiling from a partly open window. Kano could feel a strange chill in the air. What's that? Instinctively, he rushed toward it. Peering through the minivan's windows, he saw a clunky box-shaped device in the back. It was rumbling fiercely, spitting out an unending mound of white clumps. A dry ice machine. "Hey!" Kano yelled, banging hard on the door. "Open up!" By freezing a bomb that used an electronic activation trigger, it was possible to kill the battery cell and deactivate the detonator. The explosive ordnance unit had used liquid nitrogen, but maybe dry ice could work as well. Liquid nitrogen is nitrogen that has been cooled to a liquid state with a temperature below a negative 195.8 degrees Celsius. It can be poured onto explosives to stop the function of components such as the battery cell for the detonator. However, in situations where the surrounding area can be safely secured, it's preferable to destroy the explosive via detonation rather than simply arrest its function. Oh. Hold on. Dry ice is carbon dioxide in a solid state. Because it evaporates at negative 79 degrees Celsius at standard atmospheric pressure, it must be kept refrigerated or rapidly dissipates into mist. Thus, it's used in smoke/fog machines. The odds of dry ice being able to stop the detonator of a bomb are quite low. Battery cells do lose electromotive force in a sub-zero environment, but there's no guarantee that this would actually work. In other words, don't actually try to disarm a bomb with dry ice at home, kids. There were 3 men inside the vehicle. Kano shouted at one in the driver's seat, "I need to borrow that machine." The man replied in a lethargic drawl. "No way, man. We haven't paid this thing off yet." There was no time to explain or negotiate. Kano was just going to have to take it by force. Hold it right there! Another man appeared suddenly in front of the vehicle, the pushy fellow Kano had run into at the scene of the explosion. "You guys are with that Wandering Angels theater troupe, yeah?" he said to the van's occupants. Oh, he is doing the Phoenix right, isn't he? And these 3 people in the van are in a mood. They're oxygen deprived as well, so yeah, mood. Episode 6, the finale. The minivan carrying Tozuka, Bando, and Amo veered wildly through the streets of Shibuya, leaving a trail of white smoke in its wake. The trio, now definitely impaired by oxygen deprivation, came close to causing several accidents. Teetering on the brink of consciousness, they were still trying to reach Endo Electronics when they ran into Kano and his companions instead. After Kano takes the machine off their hands, the 3 will happily head back to the theater, clean up, crack open some beers, and look back over one long, crazy day. Finn. God, I'm so glad that came back in the end. He pointed at the dry ice machine. "That thing is defective. The guy from the electronics store said he'd refund your deposit." "Huh, for real?" "Yes, he told me to tell you that the machine had been recalled. We'll bring it back for you, so hurry up and open the door." "Oh, yeah, okay." The newcomer helped the 3 men unload the dry ice machine from the minivan. Then he turned to Kano. "Minorikawa's story may be over, but his accident and heroics of journalism will continue long to come." "You are right. You're right." "Here. Hurry up and take it," he shouted. "Right, thanks." Kano wasn't sure what was going on, but he took the machine and ran, pushing it ahead of him across the pavement. "Achi!" Hitomi wailed, tears in her eyes. The detective blew right past her, trailing a billowing plume of white smoke in his wake. "Please let me make it in time. Please let me make it in time. Please let me make it in time." Kano let loose a wild yell. He ran as fast as his legs would take him toward Achi and the bomb. "If you give me a keep out, I'm gonna..." To be continued. All right, sure. Let's jump to Achi. Oh, we can't jump to Achi from there. I suppose let's just go through Achi's ending here. I think, so this must be it then. Okay. Yep, so he's going to go through the same thing here. This is the same as it was a few minutes ago, so I'm not going to waste our time trying to... Achi! Oh, Achi! It was Hitomi, who suddenly sounded like Kano for a moment. He's glad that her voice was the last thing he heard. Or so he thought. Achi, bring the bomb over here! Huh? That wasn't Hitomi's voice. Achi opened his eyes and saw Kano racing toward him, pushing some kind of big, weird piece of machinery. The detective flipped open the machine's cover to reveal a huge mound of dry ice. Stick it in here! Flash freezing the timer ought to stop it! Achi did as he was told, shoving the attaché case into the dry ice. Kano helped him pile more dry ice on top of it. Let's hope that's enough, Kano exclaimed. He looked like a man desperate for a miracle. They could see the timer display through a gap in the frozen hydrogen, still counting down. Was this not going to work? Archie and Kano held their breaths. To be continued? All right, we made it. Woo! Okay. This game is fucking awesome. And that's it. Time for the epilogue. Kanon's friend. She felt a hand firmly clutching her own as she hazily returned to consciousness. This hand. Whose is it? My father's? Maria's eyelids slowly drifted open. Maria, you're all right now. Her father was indeed beside her, holding her hand. A surprising warmth radiated from his slender, bony palm. Dad? She was lying on a sofa. She craned her neck to look around, still trying to process what was going on. There were several monitors set up around the room. Where are we? At my laboratory. You were infected with a virus, but I've given you the antiviral. You don't have anything to worry about. He squeezed Maria's hand even more tightly. That hurts. Oh, right. Sorry. Asawa eased up the pressure on his daughter's hand, but he didn't let go entirely. This feels so strange, Maria muttered, staring up at the ceiling. I wonder why. What does? Having you hold my hand. I used to hold your hand like this when we'd go on walks together, when you were little. I doubt you remember that, though. Maria considered. It was true she didn't have any clear memory of her father holding her hand like this, and yet the touch of her father's palm felt distantly familiar. Gently, she squeezed back. It's been a while, hasn't it? She said. I mean, me looking you in the eye while I'm talking to you? It's only because I didn't look you in the eye. Osawa hung his head. I'm so sorry, he said. Please forgive me. I never meant to hurt you like I did. Wait, hold on. Maria was taken aback. I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean, hurt me? Back on that rainy day. Osawa told Maria about the day she'd run away from home, about how he'd known where she had gone but hadn't gone to find her, about how he'd given in to his anger and struck her once she came back home. When he finished, he hung his head once more. I'm so sorry. I've been such a terrible father. Maria cracked an impish smile. Oh yeah, I guess that did happen, huh? Osawa frowned. You know, she said, I'd totally forgotten about that. Until you mentioned it just now, I mean. No, I can't believe that, Osawa replied. The way I hurt you, He sounded so disappointed in himself. Dad, it's not like I can let myself dwell on each and every detail of my childhood. I mean, in the 19 or so years I've been alive, I've been hurt in lots of different ways. A child experienced so much more than what her parents knew. That was what growing up was all about. It was a happy thing, but also a little bit sad. Osawa was visibly grappling with his feelings. I see, he said. I guess you have gone through that much pain. Well, yeah, but there have been more things that were fun and happy. I see. It's the sum of all those things that have made me who I am today, so please, don't worry so much about the past. I see. Dad, you keep saying I see. Stop it. Sorry. It's just, this is all so difficult to say. Osawa was trying and failing to hold back his tears. Maria wasn't quite sure what those tears were for, but she felt a prickle of embarrassment. Shyly, she looked away, and her eyes alighted on one of the monitors. The screen showed a view from outside the lab. Who are these people? She asked, pointing. Osawa looked, and his eyes widened in shock. 3 people with guns were facing off with one another. Maria recognized one of them. Tateno, the man with the cane. She obviously didn't recognize Kanon, right? Why are those two pointing guns at... why are those two pointing guns at your friend? Osawa's voice was shaking. My friend? What do you mean? The one you met when you went to the Middle East. You know. Kanon? Osawa switched the monitor to show a different camera angle. A close-up of the young woman's face appeared on screen. Maria was at a loss for words. That certainly wasn't Kanon. It was the girl who had come to tell Maria that Hitomi was going to be kidnapped. Kanon's friend.
It's all coming together now.
It had happened 3 days earlier.
Oh, thank you.
While Maria was on her way home from campus, a girl approached her, telling her she was a friend of Kanon. Kanon asked me to pass along a message, she said. Then she showed Maria a video recording. The video quality was quite poor and the voice indistinct. Maria listened in shock as the message continued. The terrorist's plan was already in motion, and Hitomi had been infected with a killer virus.
Your father is the antiviral to save Hitomi. The terrorist plan, or Mom. I'll spare you the details, but there's no way to extract the antiviral from Hitomi's blood.
There is a way, whatever.
Stealing the drug from the laboratory directly is too problematic. The terrorist intends to get it directly from your sister.
God, this is going on longer than I thought was going to be appropriate for this voice, but I'm committed to it.
Hitomi is certain to be kidnapped sometime in the next few days. And so I should think to ask you, when you get kidnapped in our place, to me this should be possible for you to trade places without the kidnapper realizing it. You have the drive passing along this message necklace outfitted with a small GPS beacon. Make sure you wear the necklace. For tonight, and allow me to keep tabs on your location. I promise I'll have to rescue you. Please help me. The only way you can keep the antiviral and Hitomi safe.
God, that was too long for that voice, but I don't care. We commit here. The video ended, and the girl handed Maria a necklace with an ornate pendant and showed her the hidden switch on the back. Kanon's coming to Japan? Maria asked. She's already here. She's ready to risk her life for this mission. Risk her life? Maria stared uneasily. So this terrorist who's after the antiviral drug, is it Alphard? The girl looked shocked. You know about Alphard. Kanon told me that tracking down Alphard is her purpose in life, but... But? Alphard has ties to the CIA, so it's hard for Kanon to get any good leads. That's true. Which reminds me, you should have this. The girl held out a photograph. This man is dangerous. Stay away from him. He's an ally of Alphard. Shit. No! God damn it, Stanley. I mean, we know she's lying, but still. God damn it. Maria did her best to burn the man's image into her mind. All right, the girl said. I passed along everything... Oh, this is... All right, the girl said. I passed along everything Kanon wanted me to tell you. What you do next is up to you. So wait, what the heck has been going on while I've been asleep? Osawa recoiled from the ferocity on his own daughter's face. That Kanon girl thought of a way to save you. He went on to explain the plan to get the antiviral out of the locked-down laboratory. Once again, Maria stared at the monitor. As she eyed Kanon's friend, another memory from before she blacked out drifted to the surface. Alphard, ACAB, but for evil reasons. Right? How'd you find a way to take ACAB and make it the wrong side, huh? Suddenly it dawned on Maria what this girl was planning. She pretended to be Kanon in order to get into the lab, she said, scowling at the image on the monitor. Osawa looked at the screen and then at his daughter's face. Well, then who in the world is she? Maria already had the answer. There was no doubt about it. That girl was Alphard. The instant she realized this, she knew they were in danger. If Alphard managed to infiltrate the lab, there was no way she'd be satisfied with simply getting her hands on the antiviral. She sowed ruin everywhere she went. Is something wrong? Osawa asked uneasily. Maria, what is it? Maria's mind was racing. She spoke her thoughts out loud. She's going to kill you so that the drug can't be recreated. That's not enough. She's going to destroy this whole facility. But how? Vague possibilities tumbled through her mind, but she couldn't be sure what the terrorist might be planning. She gritted her teeth in frustration. Don't worry, Osawa said. I don't know who that girl is, but right now she's outside the lab. There's no way she can kill me or plant a bomb in here or anything. Yeah, I know. Maria gave a tiny nod, but something gnawed at the back of her mind. Make sure you wear the necklace. They set her up the bomb! Hurriedly, Maria took a hold of the pendant that hung around her neck. As soon as she did, she felt a chill run up her spine. She went back over the details of Alphard's plan as her father had explained it, and then finally she understood. I've got it! Osawa straightened up.
You've got what?
I need to get out there where those three are.
Don't be absurd.
I have to go. Osawa peered closely at his daughter's face. Words weren't going to stop her, and as he realized that, his own face stiffened with determination.
All right, but I'm going with you. I can't let you rush into danger all by yourself.
Thank you, Dad. Maria tried to get up from the sofa, but she was struck by a wave of vertigo and her knees buckled.
Are you all right?
Osawa caught her by the arm.
This is probably a side effect of the antiviral. You shouldn't push yourself too much.
Maria looked up at her father's anxious face and shook her head. Don't worry, I'll be okay. Her body was weak with lethargy, her mind trapped in a disorienting haze. Every step was a monumental effort, but she clenched her jaw and forced herself onward, making her way down the laboratory hallway. She's gonna somehow send the bomb into another dimension with the fursuit. You know what? I'm gonna be sad if the fursuit doesn't show up at least once for the ending here. A whirlwind of anger and sadness spurred her onward. Alphard was masquerading as Kanon, the cruel truth. Oh, I didn't even read the line. The cruel truth was all too clear. The terrorist would never have been able to get away with the deception if Kanon were still alive. Which means that Kanon must be... Maria fought to hold back her tears. It was too early to cry just yet. That could wait until after she'd put a stop to Alphard's plan. Using her rage to suppress her sorrow, she shoved open the door in front of her. That isn't Kanon! Maria's voice exploded into the silence of the standoff. I doubt we're getting better testimony than that, Stanley said, his gun still at the ready. There's no talking your way out of things this time. The expression on Alphard's face didn't change. She stood still, a mannequin without a soul. What did you do to Kanon? Maria demanded, marching unsteadily toward the terrorist.
Maria, stay back,
Osawa exclaimed. She ignored him.
Hey, don't get any closer,
Tateno barked. He looked exhausted, on the verge of collapse. Answer me, Maria cried, still advancing. What happened to Kanon? But still Alphard did nothing. Stanley, too, began edging toward her. It doesn't matter what you ask, he said. She won't tell you anything. Bit by bit, he inched closer. He was going to try to take her down. Let me turn your question around, Alphard said abruptly. What do you think? Maria paused, confused. What do I think about what? What do you think happened to Kanon? The corners of her lips twisted up, shaping a mirthless smile. Well, if she died, then she couldn't be in the anime, right? You killed her, didn't you? Maria's words came out as a whisper. What was that? I couldn't quite hear you. You killed Kanon, didn't you? This time Maria cried out with a biting fury. Alphard snickered. She's provoking me, Maria thought, forcing herself to swallow her rage. She couldn't let herself get caught up in Alphard's game or her anger would spill out of control. Why are you laughing? By force of will, Maria made her voice firm and steady. Because I'm guessing you weren't expecting me to show up here. Oh. Because I'm guessing you weren't expecting me to show up here. Alphard raised an eyebrow ever so slightly. This thing here, it's a bomb, isn't it? Maria held out the necklace. What? Stanley furrowed his brow. Oh, of course. Even if we managed to catch you here, you'd still be able to destroy the lab. Still, the smile remained on Alphard's face. She seemed to enjoy watching the others figure out her intentions. But you can't trigger the bomb with me standing this close to you, can you? Maria locked eyes with Alphard. Unless you're prepared to sacrifice yourself. She stood looking out like an image of bravery, while on the inside her apprehension threatened to tear her apart. Alphard, I took her skin suit. I'm wearing it right now. But you don't look like her at all. I know a good tailor, though. That's good. She could feel her heart thudding so furiously that she thought it might explode. Cold sweat trickled down her spine. Only her rage at Kanon's murder kept her from backing down. Go ahead and blow yourself up if that's what you want, she said. But you'll die with nothing. Your death will mean nothing. But not mine. My death will avenge Kanon's. Silence fell outside the laboratory gates. Stanley and Tateno stood frozen, their guns still trained on Alphard. Both men were ready to pull the trigger at the slightest provocation. Just how long had they been there staring one another down? The passage of time seemed to slow, seconds drawn into hours. Hey, Raina. Love the last of many of these streams have been getting close to finishing. Right? This actually is it, though, because now we're in the, we're actually now in the epilogue, so, like, this should be the end. Osawa swallowed audibly. Finally, Alphard tossed her gun onto the pavement and held up both hands in surrender. Stanley wasted no time springing forward to secure her. He gave her a thorough pat down from behind. He removed a small device that looked like a detonator from one of her pockets. On your knees. Alphard did as she was told. Good. Now, hands behind your head. Try anything funny and I will shoot. Without a word, Alphard placed her hands on the back of her head, fingers laced together. What are you playing at? Stanley growled disdainfully. Finally realized you can only push your luck so far. She responded with a faint snicker. It's not my policy to resist when things are hopeless. Fair enough. Good policy. Get a lot of close-ups of this exact Alphard smile, as we should. Right? It's a good smile. Her tone was detached, her intentions unreadable. Good. And that'll make this easy. Stanley kept the barrel of his gun pointed at Alphard's head. This is for my brother. The words hung in his throat, unspoken surge of emotion coursed through him. Just a tiny bit more pressure from his index finger and he could put a bullet right through Alphard's head. His long journey would finally reach its conclusion. But although he had wished for this moment more than anything, his finger did not move. If he pulled the trigger now, would that truly be the end? His mind reeled at the implications. Tateno watched Stanley closely, eventually letting out a tiny sigh of relief. They were in this together, after all. Now they just needed to be careful not to let down their guard. He kept one eye on Alphard as he went to pick up the gun she discarded. But he was too late. The gun was gone. This is for Kanon! Maria had lunged forward, snatching up the gun. Maria, no! Osawa cried. What are you thinking? She ignored her father, taking aim at Alphard's forehead. Kanon's dead, and you're going to pay. The smoldering rage she'd fought to hold back blazed up with renewed fury. Maria, Stanley said calmly, put down the gun. He had nothing but words to stop her. There was no telling what Alphard might do if he took his gun off her. What will this accomplish? He asked, keeping his tone as level as possible. Maria's face remained awash with anger. Maria, her father pleaded, please don't do this. Tateno took a step forward. Go on, and hand me the gun, he said. Stay back! Maria's arm trembled as she aimed the gun. Everyone stood frozen, not even daring to breathe. The slightest wrong move might bring disaster. The silence roared. I don't care, Alphard sneered. If you want to shoot, then shoot. You do want to avenge Kanon, don't you? Yes, I do. Maria tightened her grip on the gun. Memories of her friend drifted through her mind. To Maria, born into peace, meeting Kanon had been like touching a world beyond her own, a far more complicated world. Kanon had blood on her hands from the time she was a little girl, a walking contradiction of cruelty and childishness, and yet she had lived her life according to her own unshakable beliefs. Meeting her had made Maria think hard about her own identity. What did it mean to be Japanese? No, that wasn't the question. What did it mean to be Maria Osawa? That was the crux of it all. They had been able to find common ground despite differing ideals because both possessed an unshakable sense of self. The tense equilibrium came crashing down as Maria let out a shout. This is for Kanon! She pulled the trigger, but her shot went wide, shattering the window of a nearby car. The sudden gunshot caught Stanley off guard. Alphard didn't miss her opening. She rolled swiftly across the pavement, drawing the small pistol she hid in an ankle holster. Maria hastily tried to aim for a second shot. Dad? Osawa collapsed at Maria's feet. Dad! Her father went limp. Stanley dived at Alphard. He grabbed a hold of her right wrist, the one clutching the gun, and slammed her head down hard against the pavement. She made no attempt to resist. In a moment, he had subdued her. Maria, you're not hurt, are you? Osawa croaked feebly as his daughter gathered him up in her arms. I'm fine, but Dad, you're... Blood was gushing through Osawa's shirt. Maria pressed her hand against the wound, but the bleeding wouldn't stop. Look, just hurry. Get here as fast as you can. Tatsuno was on his cell phone calling for an ambulance. I know there's a traffic jam. Just figure something out, please. His voice was ragged with desperation. Dad, hang in there. Large tears streamed from Maria's eyes. So this is what it's like. Osawa lay with his head in his daughter's lap, struggling to rasp out his words. My body just reacted before I had any time to think. I finally understand what a virus must feel like. His eyes were hollow. I never told you when he told me, did I? About what started my fascination with virus research? Dad, try not to talk right now. Your choice of death monologue is very strange. Maria squeezed her father's hand. Almost imperceptibly, he squeezed back. It probably isn't a very interesting story, he said. But I'd like for you to both to hear it anyway. I know, and we will. After this, I promise we will. Maria's words brought a contented smile to Osawa's face. I'm glad. So glad. It's all right. Just don't talk right now. This time, at least, I was there for you. Osawa slowly shut his eyes. Who am I going to make divorce jokes about, right? Dad, Maria said, but her father didn't answer. Dad, don't die. You can't die. The sound of an ambulance sirens wailed in the distance. Maria clutched her father's hand, trying to make her grip firm and reassuring. But just as his had been back for her, that is a weird sentence. Just as his had been for her back inside the laboratory. God, that is such a weird. Please, don't die. She repeated the words inwardly over and over and over. Dad, just insert an E. That's dark. A black car of foreign make arrived at the laboratory and pulled up to the curb. Stanley's superior, Gordon, emerged from the back. A few of his men followed and promptly placed Alphard in handcuffs. Well done, Gordon said. Stanley gave him a slight nod. We'll be taking Alphard back to headquarters and finish up here. Understood, sir. Gordon shoved Alphard into the back seat and slid in alongside her, and the car drove off. Who was that just now? Tatsuno asked Stanley. My boss. Sorry, but we'll be taking Alphard into custody. You will, huh? Tatsuno frowned, but decided not to press the point. The ambulance arrived at last, and Osawa was loaded inside. Maria remained at his side, still weeping, still softly calling out to him. He could sense her there, though her voice sounded awfully far away. Is this the end, then? He was vaguely aware that he was dying, but he was not afraid. At the far end of a hazy tunnel, he could still see Maria. She had grown. She had grown so very much. If he were an organism that multiplied by dividing itself, he would die knowing that he had left his best selves behind. He had only one wish now, that Maria and Hitomi would go on to lead happy lives. His vision was growing steadily more dim. Tiny motes of light flickered and wavered faintly before his eyes. It looked a lot like the very first time he had ever peered through a microscope. And that was enough for him. Horror 28 Shibuya Scramble really said, don't commit revenge murder if you're definitely a heterosexual bestie. It'll kill your dad. Unless you want to kill your dad, then it's probably fine. Unexpectedly, Mario's cell phone rang in Stanley's pocket. He meant to give it back to her, but the ambulance had already departed. The phone continued to ring for some time, but eventually fell into a death-like silence. Is this another bad end somehow? Like, despite the fact that we're in the epilogue, right? Like, did we get another bad end? Oh, 2? Achi held his breath. He could no longer feel the seconds ticking by. The numbers on the display were changing more and more slowly, but still he watched in fear. 0002. It was impossible not to fixate on the countdown. 0002. 0002. 0002. Kano and Achi continued to stare at the timer. 0002. It had stopped. The timer had actually stopped.
We did it!
Archie dropped to his knees with a cry of triumph. The rest of Shibuya Scramble burst into cheers. You are one reckless guy, you know that? Kano held his hand out. Archie grinned up at him.
That makes 2 of us.
The two clasped hands firmly, their handshake conveying more than any words could have. Archie, Susumu came rushing over. You did it, man. I knew you could do it. The two bumped fists.
It weren't just me,
Archie said.
Could never have done it without you guys' help.
Susumu smiled bashfully. I guess this Shibuya has been unscrambled.
Hey, Susumu, take care of SOS for me.
You got it. Susumu looked him squarely in the eye. Archie gave him a little nod, and the two solemnly bumped fists again. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash. Archie spun around to see Chiaki standing there, beaming happily, her digital camera ready for another shot. Hey, everyone, gather up! Gather around! Minorikawa called out to Archie and his pals. You guys are the heroes of Shibuya!
Photo time, everyone.
Chiaki said.
Get ready.
The young men struck a pose, together.
Wait.
Wait, her too! Minorikawa ushered Hitomi over to stand with Archie.
Hitomi!
Archie stared at her shyly. It was all thanks to Hitomi that he'd been able to do what he had done. Keeping Shibuya safe, keeping his promise to Suzune, Hitomi had been his inspiration for it all. There were so many things he wanted to say, but he couldn't get the right words out.
Archie, I...
Hitomi's cheeks were damp with tears. Hey now, little lady, Minorikawa called. No crying now, come on, show us a smile. God damn it, Minorikawa. He struck a goofy pose beside Chiaki. Kinda looking at the fist bump like, welp, he got in before me. At last, the smile returned to Hitomi's face.
Really is the best.
Oh no,
It really is the best.
Huh?
Hitomi looked up at Archie in confusion.
Your smile,
He said.
it's the best. I don't care what anyone else says.
He spoke so earnestly that Hitomi couldn't help but smile even more. Okay, here we go, people. Get your best faces on. At Minorikawa's signal, everyone let out a joyous victory cry. Come on, guys, Susumu shouted. Let's lift Archie up where everyone can see him. The members of SOS let out another roar.
Huh? No, you don't gotta do that, guys. Hey, cut it out.
But Archie had already been swallowed by the enthusiastic throng. Heave ho! Heave ho! Heave ho! There in the middle of the scramble, Archie was being hailed as a hero. Kano looked on with a satisfied smile. What they had achieved together was nothing less than a miracle. Taken a lot of luck, more than a few coincidences for them to stop the bomb. Coincidences? Kano muttered to himself. No, that wasn't right. It was something different altogether. Fate, that's what it was. And not just one person's fate, the destinies of several people had collided, gathering momentum until coincidence became inevitability, and Shibuya was saved. The raucous crowd tossed Archie high into the air again and again. As a plainclothes detective, Kano would probably never be showered with adulation quite like that. Well, that was all right. The detective's duty was to ensure the safety of the people. He didn't put his life on the line so that he could be a hero. Just seeing all those smiles, that was good enough for him. The player's fate? Wow! Kano only needed the approval of one person, and that was Rumi. Hope she managed to get out of Shibuya okay. Suddenly worried, Kano pulled out his cell phone. There were a whole bunch of things he wanted to tell her. He couldn't share the whole story, police rules wouldn't allow it, but he wanted to let her know as much as he could. That the kidnapping case had been resolved safely, for instance. That he learned about the tortured past of the detective he so admired. That his partner was going to pull through. That he'd managed to finally talk to her father. That he'd put his life on the line to save Shibuya from danger. Rumi would listen quietly to the very end. And then Kano thought he knew just what she'd say, short and sweet, in that gentle voice of hers. Good job. Is that it? So even in the ending, Osoba gets shot? You kidding me? Wow. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What a great story. Oh man, this game was great.
You better believe we're letting the credits play here. This is awesome. Well, Saw was in an ambulance. Maybe he makes it. Yeah, I guess they gotta have something for the stinger at the end, right? God, see, we haven't seen the fursuit in so long. Post-credit scenes of him thumbs-upping in a hospital bed. This was a delight. I know, this game was so charming. Holy shit. God, I loved every minute of this game. Oh, man. Oh my gosh. I am so glad I decided to stream this because this was incredible. I can see why so many people speak highly of this game. Like this is one of the ones that gets talked about as a cult classic a lot of the time, and it's clear why. All successful entrants in the Be an Extra in our new sound novel contest. So there were people who won the chance to be an extra, huh? That's awesome. Hope Osawa makes it so he and Japanese Columbo can have a virology-themed wedding where everyone is obligated to wear the fursuit. Very stylish, amusing, well-written plot. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe he and Kajiwara meet up again in the hospital. Because last we saw Kajiwara, he was in a car accident, right? Very stylish, amusing, and well-written plot. I know, it's good. Oh, they even got so the theme song was even performed by Aya Kamiki. That is really cool. No wonder she was cameoing in it so often. I was wondering about tuning in without any context of the rest of the game wasn't the best idea. If this game has piqued your interest at all in Dohi Wario, I would absolutely give it a try. If you love VN's adventure games, sound novels, any of that kind of stuff, absolutely pick this up and give it a try for yourself because it is phenomenal. We see Stanley's actor's name? We did. It was way up back there. You could probably see it if you roll this stream back. Or, here's another way you can do it. Looking it up on Wikipedia. The Perfect Suit Factory. Excellent. Thank you, The Perfect Suit Factory, for your help with that. I know I mentioned it earlier when we were playing it, but yeah, the costuming in this game was on point. Like, sometimes it was exaggerated so much that it kind of was a little distracting, but it did the job it needed to do, right? Every character was visually distinct in a way that immediately let you know, like, oh, this is who I'm looking at, this is what they're talking about. And even in a game where a lot of the people were wearing suits or a variation on a suit, right? They were all still incredibly visually distinct from one another. And that is incredibly important in a game like this. We need another VN for a bit since you just finished Somnium Files a few weeks ago. Oh, yo! I hope you enjoyed Somnium Files. Did you play the sequel yet? It's absolutely worth your time if you enjoyed the first game. God, this game is so cool. I'm so glad we got the chance to play this. Holy shit. First game was on sale for $10. Oh, fair enough. I'm glad you picked it up then. That game is awesome. An Aquanaut's holiday game, huh? Huh. Gordon and Alphard sat in the back seat as the car sped along the highway. Here. Gordon tossed the handcuff key onto the seat beside him. What happened down at the scramble? Alphard asked, picking up the key and unlocking her cuffs. Leland Palmer was arrested by the Japanese police, and the bomb in the attaché case was defused, apparently. Still, Palmer shouldn't pose a problem once we get him into CIA custody. I see. Much obliged. Yeah, even in the end, the CIA are still corrupt. The realistic ending we all needed. You got yourself backed into a corner, though, didn't you? Gordon said. Yeah, I was only able to accomplish half of what I intended. Half? Alphard produced a vial from her pocket. It was filled with a red liquid. Is that Tommy's blood? Gordon asked. Indeed. I managed to acquire the antiviral. But when? Gordon peered at her in bewilderment. When I blew up the minivan, of course. In the dim light of the vehicle, Alphard's eyes shone darkly like those of a wounded animal.
Extracting the blood from Hitomi while she was unconscious had been a simple matter. Saving the girl's life had been more than just a means of ensuring her trust. Alphard had been looking for the right moment to carry out the extraction. Total secrecy was essential. If it became public knowledge that the drug existed, that some of it had been stolen, the value of the UO virus would plummet. Our primary objective here was to destroy that research facility. Still, getting our hands on the antiviral is better than nothing. Well done as always, Alphard. Gordon's hard expression softened, but Alphard was in no mood to return his smile.
The girl boss ending? Hell yeah.
If Maria Osawa had remained inside the facility, her plan would have succeeded. Everything else up until that point had gone off without a hitch. The one thing Alphard hadn't anticipated was Maria bringing the bomb outside. She had injected Maria with a knockout drug back at Endo Electronics that should have kept her from moving around for a while, even after she regained consciousness. And in any case, she wouldn't have expected that girl to just march into the midst of an armed standoff. She had been certain that Maria would never leave the lab. She had misjudged how strong the girl's feelings for Kanon were. Maria's body had been put into a state of torpor, where there were a bunch of people pointing guns at each other, and still she had been undeterred. Alphard's plan had hinged on Maria's relationship with Kanon, and ironically, that same relationship had made the plan fall apart. It was true that she had accomplished half of her goals, but Alphard still couldn't shake her sense of failure. She softly bit her lip as she gazed out through the car window. The bright windows of a few buildings shone out in the midst of the otherwise darkened city. A group of tiny lights that refused to be washed out by the darkness.
Fiend! What a great fucking game. What a great, great fucking game this is. I had an absolute blast with playing this game. Blast. 10-10. Perfect. No notes. Flawless. But actually, though. What is this? White bookmark. Can't wait for Alphard to gaslight the Geneva Convention. I guess. What is a white bookmark? You'll find a match soon. I want to be a strong person. Wait, what is this? Please be happy for me. Heartbeat of Spring. Is that another bonus content added to the title screen? Previews added to bonus content. Suzune preview added to bonus content. 428 pop quiz added to... What? Tell me back in the morning. No, God. Thank goodness, no. Okay. There's bonus content, apparently. Okay, these are all the previews for each hour block. The Suzune preview. And the 428 pop quiz. All right. What's with the Suzune preview? So is there more? Oh, hold on. I'm glad that's still R1. Huh. There's still more. Okay. Does anyone know how long this segment is? Like, I wasn't intending to go much longer than this today. I guess what we'll do is we'll come back tomorrow and we'll do this bonus segment then. I was planning on wrapping up around a little bit after 3 today because I've got some other things I need to do. But, yeah, I guess we'll do the bonus stuff tomorrow then. Huh. Well, thank you for coming out, everyone. Game just keeps on giving. I know! It's so good! Thank you for coming out. Apparently that wasn't the true ending. We didn't get true end. Well, apparently, despite the fact that we're done, we've got more to go. So, I don't know what to tell you. Apparently, there's still more to do in this game. So tomorrow, I guess we'll come back and we'll see what we can do to wrap stuff up. I'll look. Black bookmark is the true one. Okay. I'll look up what else we got to do in order to get true end. And we'll go through the bonus stuff as well. That's all I got for you. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and thank you for coming. Oh, this game.